Welcome back, dear friend. Tonight, we will take a slow and steady journey through the vast and fascinating history of Germany, a land whose past stretches back thousands of years, full of stories of tribes, empires, wars, culture, and rebirth. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you enjoy the type of content that merges myth and mystery. And hey, let us know from where you are watching and what time it is for you right now. Sometimes our stories are better than sleep, and other times they make you dream louder. It's time now to dim the lights, turn on a fan for some noise, and let's cover what we have for tonight together. Close your eyes for a moment, dear friend, and imagine a land thousands of years ago, long before highways and cities, before Germany was even a word. There were endless forests. Tall oak and beech trees stretched so high they seemed to brush the clouds. Rivers wound through the land in silver ribbons. Mist rose in the mornings, and animals roamed in abundance. Wolves in the shadows, bears in the hills, and deer stepping quietly through the undergrowth. This was the world of the ancient Germanic tribes. The people who lived here were not yet called Germans. They were a collection of many tribes, independent, proud, and deeply connected to the wild landscapes around them. Archaeologists tell us that even as far back as the Bronze and Iron Ages, these tribes left behind traces of their lives: pottery buried in the ground, weapons laid carefully beside the fallen in graves, ornaments made of amber and bronze. To us, they are fragments of a forgotten life. To them, they were the fabric of existence. The Germanic tribes spoke early languages that would one day evolve into German, English, Dutch, and the Scandinavian tongues. Imagine the sounds of their speech: deep, rough syllables echoing through smoky halls as elders told stories by firelight. Their myths spoke of gods who would later inspire the Norse legends: Odin, Thor, Freya, and others. In those days, however, these deities were not written down. They were carried in memory, in song, in whispered tales to children before sleep, just as you are hearing this tale tonight. Life in the tribe was simple, though never easy. Villages were clusters of wooden huts, roofs thatched with straw, walls made of timber and clay. Inside, smoke drifted upward from the hearth, where families gathered not only for warmth, but for stories, meals, and decisions that shaped their small world. Outside, fields were carved from the forest, where barley and wheat were grown, and herds of cattle, pigs, and goats were tended. Warriors played an important role in this society. The land was vast, but it was not empty, and neighboring tribes often fought over territory, grazing rights, or honor. A warrior's shield was more than protection, it was a symbol of belonging. Swords and spears were handed down from father to son, carrying the weight of ancestry in their iron. Yet, these same people who knew the sword also knew hospitality. To welcome a guest with mead, bread, and firelight was considered sacred, a duty given by the gods themselves. Their leaders were chosen often for strength and wisdom, not simply birthright. A chieftain might rule because he was brave in battle, persuasive in speech, and generous to his people. Around him gathered councils of elders, men who remembered the past and offered guidance for the future. And among the tribes, women held important roles as well, managing households, caring for the community, and sometimes even acting as spiritual guides or seers who could glimpse the threads of fate. The world of the Germanic tribes was not isolated. To the south loomed the Roman Empire, vast and glittering, with its roads, cities, and legions. Traders and travelers carried word of Rome's wealth, its strange customs, its power that seemed unshakable. In exchange, the tribes offered furs, amber, and slaves. But in those early days, long before wars with Rome, the Germanic tribes were still shaping their own identity, rooted in the deep soil of the forests. Their spiritual life tied them closely to nature. Sacred groves were their temples, open-air spaces where trees themselves became pillars reaching to the sky. There, they sacrificed animals, sometimes weapons, and perhaps, though darkly whispered, even humans, to ensure the favor of the gods. To them, every stone, every river, every tree might carry a spirit, a force to be respected and honored. As centuries passed, the tribes grew, spread, and changed. Some began to migrate toward the edges of the Roman world, drawn by trade, opportunities, and sometimes by the promise of plunder. Others remained deep in the interior, maintaining old ways, yet all were bound by a common thread, a rugged independence, a refusal to bend to foreign rule easily, and a culture that cherished both freedom and belonging. Imagine now the sound of their music, not orchestras or pianos, but the rhythm of drums, the drone of horns, the chanting of voices in unison during rituals. Imagine the flickering firelight on painted shields, the glow of torchlight in long wooden halls. This was their world, a tapestry of earth and fire, of myth and memory, of tribe and tradition. And though they could not know it, their descendants would one day forge kingdoms, empires, and nations that would shape the future of Europe. But for now, in this moment of the story, they were simply people, hunters, farmers, warriors, and dreamers, living in harmony and conflict with the land around them. Rest here for a while, friend, among the oaks and rivers of ancient Germania. Hear the quiet murmur of voices around a fire, the distant howl of a wolf, the steady heartbeat of a world long past but never forgotten. This is where the history of Germany begins, in the forest, in the tribe, in the stories told in the dark. Close your eyes, dear friend, and imagine the same vast forests and rolling hills of Germania, but now stretching farther south toward the edges of the Roman Empire. It is the 1st century BC, a time when the Roman legions, disciplined, organized, and relentless, move steadily north, their armor gleaming in the sun, their standards held high, and their footsteps echoing across plains that have never seen such precision. The Germanic tribes watch with a mixture of curiosity, awe, and apprehension. They have heard tales of the Romans, of cities paved with stone, of baths filled with warm water, of soldiers so numerous and disciplined that they seem unstoppable. These encounters were delicate dances of diplomacy, trade, and sometimes battle. Traders traveled from tribe to tribe, carrying goods that were unusual and magical to the eyes of the people. Roman glassware, coins stamped with the faces of emperors, intricate pottery, and even wine traveled north along rivers like the Rhine and the Danube. In return, the Romans coveted furs, amber, grain, and warriors who could be hired as auxiliaries for the empire. Imagine the awe of a tribal chieftain holding a delicate Roman cup, its smooth surface reflecting firelight as he raises it in a toast. But not all encounters were peaceful. The Romans wanted control, expansion, and tribute. The Germanic tribes wanted freedom, their land, and their way of life. Tensions simmered. Some tribes allied with Rome, seeing advantage in proximity to wealth and power, while others resisted fiercely. These skirmishes were not yet the full-scale battles that would later define history, but they left lasting impressions on both sides. One of the most famous and dramatic moments of these early encounters was the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD. Imagine a dense, mist-filled forest stretching endlessly, the air damp and heavy, the scent of pine and wet earth everywhere. 3 Roman legions, marching confidently through what they thought was friendly territory, suddenly found themselves trapped. The Cherusci, a Germanic tribe led by a man named Arminius, ambushed them. The Romans were unprepared for the swampy terrain, the narrow paths, and the sudden, coordinated attacks. For days, the forest itself seemed to rise against them, concealing warriors behind trees and ravines. By the end, the legions were annihilated. This was a defeat so devastating that Rome abandoned any thought of permanently occupying the lands east of the Rhine. For the Germanic tribes, it was a victory remembered for generations, a moment of triumph and survival. Even outside the battlefields, the Romans influenced life in Germania in subtle ways. Roads were built for trade and military movement, connecting tribal settlements to distant cities. The legions left behind their coins, pottery, and sometimes their engineers and artisans, whose techniques were gradually adopted by local populations. Though Rome never fully conquered the Germanic lands, it left impressions that shaped craft, trade, and even military tactics. Life during this period for the tribes was a delicate balance. On one hand, they wanted the exotic goods and prestige that Rome offered. On the other, they feared the encroachment of foreign power and the potential loss of freedom. Chieftains had to be cunning, sometimes negotiating alliances, sometimes preparing for war. Children learned the stories of Roman soldiers not as distant myths, but as real figures to watch, to fear, and occasionally to admire. Imagine a village near the Rhine River, evening approaching, smoke curls from the hearths. A father sharpens his spear while recounting tales of Roman glory and folly to his children. A mother tends to goats, her hands rough from work, but her voice soft as she sings songs of gods who guard the forest and the tribe. Warriors practice with shields, throwing spears in careful rhythm, their eyes alert to every shadow in the trees. All the while, traders arrive from distant lands, their wagons creaking under the weight of Roman goods, their voices carrying stories of cities so vast and organized that the imagination struggles to contain them. The interaction was not only about conflict and trade, but about observation and learning. The Germanic tribes watched the Roman legions carefully, noting their discipline, formations, and tactics. They learned which armor was strong, which formations could be broken, and how fear could be used as a weapon. And though they would not adopt Rome's system wholesale, these observations would help them survive and sometimes triumph against the mighty empire. The environment itself played a crucial role. Germania was a land of forests, marshes, rivers, and hills. Unlike the open plains where Roman legions thrived, here the terrain favored the local tribes. They knew every river bend, every hidden path, every place to set an ambush. Rome's power was immense, but it was not omnipotent. The land itself became an ally to those who respected it, silent partner in their struggle for survival. Yet, the presence of Rome also sparked internal changes. Some tribes became wealthier through trade, their leaders gaining prestige by presenting Roman gifts at feasts. Others adopted Roman techniques in small ways, metalworking, pottery styles, or even rudimentary military training. The tribes were not static. They evolved in response to the pressure and opportunity presented by the empire to their south. Consider also the stories and legends that began to circulate during this time. Tales of brave warriors fighting against overwhelming odds, of cunning leaders like Arminius, who outwitted one of the most powerful armies the world had ever seen, and of villages resisting the pull of foreign influence. These stories were whispered around fires, passed from parent to child, and became part of the cultural memory of the Germanic people. In some ways, these stories were just as important as battles or treaties. They defined identity, pride, and the idea that freedom was worth defending. And as the centuries passed, the shadow of Rome loomed over Germania. Even as its legions retreated, the memory of Teutoburg Forest lingered as a symbol of resistance. Trade and contact continued, sometimes peaceful, sometimes tense. The Germanic tribes were never conquered, but they were always aware of the empire just beyond their rivers, and this awareness shaped their society in subtle but lasting ways. Rest now, friend, in the quiet imagining of those ancient forests, the mist curling over rivers, the distant sound of Roman horns fading into the distance, and the steady presence of tribes living close to the earth. Picture warriors practicing silently, children laughing, elders telling stories by the fire, and the land itself whispering its secrets. This is the world where Germany's history begins to intersect with the wider world, where the echoes of Rome are felt but never completely imposed, and where the Germanic tribes continue their slow, steady journey through time. Here, in this calm and quiet moment, we leave the tribes and their Roman encounters. Theirs is a story of caution, courage, and the delicate balance between curiosity and independence. And as the forest settles into night, you can feel the heartbeat of a world long past, one that shaped all that would follow in the history of Germany. Close your eyes once more, dear friend, and let the forests and rivers of Germania fade slightly into the distance as the winds of change begin to stir. It is the centuries following the fall of Rome's stability in the West, roughly from the 4th to the 6th century AD. The lands of the Germanic tribes are entering a time of movement, upheaval, and transformation, a period historians call the migration period, or the Völkerwanderung, the wandering of peoples. Imagine a landscape both familiar and unfamiliar. Forests still dominate the horizon, but the old villages now echo with stories of departure and arrival. Tribes no longer remain in one place for generations. They are moving, sometimes for fertile land, sometimes for security, sometimes drawn by the promise of wealth across distant borders. The rhythm of life has changed. Where once families farmed the same soil for generations, now the path ahead is as important as the fields behind. Among these wandering peoples are the Goths, Vandals, Lombards, and Franks, to name only a few. The Goths, split into Visigoths and Ostrogoths, travel south and west, navigating rivers and mountains, crossing lands controlled by the weakening Roman Empire. They bring with them not only families and livestock, but also traditions, stories, and beliefs that will mingle with the cultures they encounter. Consider the experience of a family walking along a forested riverbank, the father guiding a cart loaded with tools and meager possessions, the mother carrying a small child in her arms, older children helping to herd goats and cattle. At night, they make a camp near a river bend. A fire is built carefully, smoke drifting up through the branches. Wolves may lurk at the edges of the clearing, curious but wary of human presence. Around the fire, the family speaks softly, telling stories of ancestors who once held lands farther north, stories of battles fought and victories won, of gods who watched over them and guided their path. The Vandals are on a similar journey, moving through dense forests and open plains, their movements sometimes forced by pressure from other tribes or the encroaching Roman legions. The Lombards begin a long trek that will eventually take them to Italy. Each tribe has its rhythm, its fears, its hopes. The lands they enter are not empty. Roman ruins, abandoned forts, and towns scarred by previous conflict are part of the scenery. Some of these ruins are carefully avoided, others are repurposed, giving the migrants shelter, materials, and inspiration for new settlements. Trade and interaction do not stop entirely. Even during migration, there are exchanges of goods and ideas. Local populations, whether Romanized or other tribes, sometimes welcome newcomers for alliances or labor. Other times, they resist fiercely. The migration period is marked by both cooperation and conflict, by negotiation and the occasional clash of swords. Every step south and west brings uncertainty, yet also opportunity. Let us pause to imagine a moment in the life of a Gothic village en route. The day begins with mist rising from a nearby river. Children play among reeds, while women draw water and tend small gardens beside their temporary huts. Men practice spear throwing, maintaining their skills for both defense and hunting. Midday brings shared meals of bread, cheese, and preserved meat. Conversations drift to the next leg of the journey, the rumors of Roman cities far to the south, and the hope that fertile land awaits beyond the hills. By evening, the family gathers around the fire once again. Stars appear overhead, brilliant and unchanging, silent witnesses to the migrations unfolding below. Religion and culture move with the people. The Goths, for example, adopt Arian Christianity, a branch of the faith distinct from Roman Catholicism, blending their own spiritual practices with new beliefs. Rituals are conducted quietly in encampments or near sacred groves, maintaining continuity with older traditions, even as new ideas take root. Music, songs, and oral history carry their culture forward, passing stories of heroism, ancestry, and the sacred into the hearts of children who may never see the lands their ancestors once held. The Franks, moving westward in a more gradual settlement pattern, begin integrating with Romanized Gaul. They maintain their identity as warriors and farmers, but start to interact more closely with Roman customs, law, and trade. Some tribes are absorbed, others remain distinct. These interactions plant the seeds of the political structures that will shape Europe in the centuries to come. Wars and skirmishes are part of the landscape, but so too is adaptation. Tribes build temporary fortifications, learn to read maps of rivers and passes, and develop strategies to survive harsh winters and floods. Life is rarely easy during migration, yet it is alive with purpose. Every day requires attentiveness to the land, to neighboring peoples, and to the needs of the tribe. And yet, through all this movement, the Germans maintain a sense of identity, a sense of being part of something larger than themselves. Imagine now a camp under the open sky. A fire burns low, embers glowing red. The wind whispers through the trees, carrying the scents of pine and river water. A father hums a tune, a song carried from his father's father, about gods who wander with their people, guiding and protecting. Children listen, eyes half closed, lulled by the rhythm of words and the warmth of fire. The tribe sleeps lightly, always ready to rise and continue the journey, but comforted by the presence of kin and the continuity of tradition. Even as Rome's Western Empire begins to crumble, the Germanic tribes continue their migrations, reshaping Europe by moving into new territories. They eventually establish kingdoms on lands that were once Roman provinces. The Visigoths settle in Spain, the Ostrogoths in Italy, the Lombards eventually follow them into Italy, and the Franks rise to power in Gaul. These movements will influence borders, languages, and cultures for centuries to come. The migration period is a time of uncertainty, yet it is also a time of profound resilience. Tribes must carry not only their possessions, but also their culture, their stories, and their spirits. They must remain adaptable while remaining themselves. They navigate rivers and forests, mountains and plains, facing danger from wild animals, rival tribes, and the occasional Roman legion. And through it all, they preserve a connection to the land and to each other, a thread that binds past, present, and future. As you imagine this world, dear friend, let yourself drift alongside the wandering tribes. Feel the sway of carts over uneven paths, the warmth of fires at night, the soft murmur of voices recounting old tales. Listen to the wind rustling through the trees, to the distant call of a bird in the early morning, to the quiet ripple of a river beside a temporary camp. This is the heartbeat of the migration period. Movement, change, adaptation, and the quiet persistence of human spirit. Rest here in this vast, shifting world. Imagine the tribes continuing their journeys into unknown lands, guided by memory, hope, and the faint glimmer of the gods' protection. The migration period is not a story of conquest or empire. It is a story of survival, of culture in motion, of identity preserved even as people travel across vast distances. It is the bridge between ancient tribal life and the early medieval kingdoms that will follow. The slow, steady unfolding of history across forests, rivers, and plains. And so, dear friend, as the fire dies down in your mind's eye, as the tribes sleep under stars and mist, you can rest as well, knowing that this story, the quiet march of people across centuries, is part of the long and winding path that leads to the Germany we will continue to explore. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us leave the wandering tribes for a moment, watching as some settle, some rise, and new powers begin to take shape across the lands of Germania and Gaul. It is the early medieval period, a time when the threads of migration are weaving themselves into more permanent patterns. Among these threads, one tribe begins to emerge with growing strength and purpose: the Franks. The Franks are a confederation of Germanic peoples, initially living along the lower and middle Rhine River. Imagine the Rhine flowing wide and strong, its waters deep and steady, a lifeline for trade, travel, and sustenance. Along its banks, small villages cluster, and the forests that once shielded the Germanic tribes still rise dark and protective on either side. The Franks know these forests intimately, the paths, the clearings, the hidden springs. Life is grounded in these natural rhythms, planting and harvesting, hunting and herding, trading with neighbors, and occasionally preparing for war. Unlike the scattered, wandering tribes of the migration period, the Franks begin to consolidate power. Small chieftains give way to more centralized rule. Leaders emerge, who are not only warriors, but also organizers, able to unite clans under a common purpose. Their strength lies not only in their swords, but in their ability to gather support, maintain loyalty, and craft alliances. Imagine a Frankish chieftain standing atop a hill at dawn, surveying the lands of his people, planning the next moves for his tribe, a crown of simple iron upon his head, flanked by loyal warriors. The early Franks are both farmers and fighters. Their villages are modest, often fortified with wooden palisades. Families tend crops, herds, and small gardens. Children learn both craft and combat. Women manage households, teach traditions, and sometimes advise their husbands in matters of diplomacy and strategy. Community and kinship are vital. A feast is not just a meal, it is a reaffirmation of bonds, a place where disputes are settled, alliances strengthened, and stories of ancestors retold. The Franks' rise is closely tied to their interactions with the remnants of the Roman world. Rome may have retreated from the northern borders, but its legacy remains. Roads, bridges, and towns scarred by centuries of Roman occupation still dot the landscape. The Franks trade with Romanized populations, exchanging goods and knowledge. They adopt some Roman practices, selectively integrating them with their own customs. Roman coins circulate, and Latin words enter their language, slowly shaping the culture that will define medieval Europe. It is during this period that one of the most important figures in early Frankish history begins to emerge. Clovis Thurs. Imagine a man both fierce and thoughtful, a warrior able to inspire loyalty and courage in his followers. He unites smaller Frankish tribes under his rule, creating a kingdom with a vision beyond mere survival. Clovis is not only a conqueror, but also a diplomat, marrying alliances with marriages, resolving disputes through both council and battle, and demonstrating an understanding of power that will shape the Frankish legacy. A critical moment in Clovis's life and in the history of Western Europe comes with his conversion to Christianity. Legend and historical record intertwine here. Imagine Clovis on the battlefield, surrounded by chaos and blood, praying for victory to the Christian God. He succeeds, and thereafter embraces the faith of the Romans. This conversion is more than personal belief. It is a strategic and cultural bridge between the Germanic tribes and the remnants of Roman Gaul. The Christian Church becomes an ally, providing legitimacy and support, while the Franks bring military strength and leadership to the Christianized lands. Under Clovis and his successors, the Frankish kingdom expands steadily. Villages are connected into a network of towns and fortresses. Roads that once carried Roman legions now carry Frankish traders, messengers, and armies. Laws are codified, blending tribal customs with Roman legal traditions. This is a kingdom learning to govern, to integrate, and to endure, laying the foundations for the Europe we recognize centuries later. Yet the rise of the Franks is not without challenge. Neighboring tribes, rival chieftains, and remnants of other migrating peoples contest their authority. Battles are fought across forests, hills, and rivers. Victory is achieved through strategy, courage, and sometimes sheer endurance. Imagine a dawn battle along a misty riverbank, warriors standing in tight formation, shields raised, spears pointed, the silence before the clash, broken by the roar of men and the clash of iron. These moments, though violent, are also transformative, shaping leadership, loyalty, and the structure of the emerging kingdom. The Franks also cultivate culture. They begin to sponsor monasteries, preserving not only religious practices, but also literacy and learning. Manuscripts are copied by candlelight, songs are sung of past heroes, and the oral traditions of the tribes are written down for future generations. In this quiet, steady work, the Franks preserve memory even as they expand power. Daily life within the Frankish realm is a mixture of labor, devotion, and celebration. Farmers tend the land with tools shaped from iron. Blacksmiths hammer out swords, plows, and jewelry. Women weave cloth, cook meals, and care for the young and old. Children learn the songs, legends, and practical skills necessary to survive and thrive in this world. Every action, planting, tending, forging, praying, is part of the slow, deliberate rhythm of the kingdom's growth. The Frankish rise is also the rise of identity. Though the Franks interact with Romans, Gauls, and other tribes, they maintain a sense of themselves as a people who will shape the politics, religion, and culture of Europe for centuries. They are neither completely Roman nor entirely tribal. They exist in a space between worlds, synthesizing old and new, survival and governance, faith and tradition. As you imagine this, dear friend, let yourself drift through the villages, forests, and rivers of the early Frankish kingdom. See the firelight flickering in wooden homes. Hear the rhythmic hammer of the blacksmith, the soft laughter of children, the chants of monks in monasteries, and the distant call of warriors preparing for the day. Feel the steady pulse of life, of growth, of power beginning to crystallize in one corner of Europe. This is the story of the rise of the Franks, a story of unification, of diplomacy and war, of faith embraced and traditions preserved. It is a story of a people who step from wandering into structure, from survival into governance, slowly shaping a kingdom that will endure, influence, and connect to the larger tapestry of Europe. Rest now, letting the rivers, forests, and villages of the Franks fill your imagination. Imagine yourself walking beside Clovis as he surveys his growing kingdom, feeling the wind through the trees, hearing the distant bells of a monastery, and knowing that in these moments, history is being quietly, patiently woven. The rise of the Franks is not a sudden burst of power. It is a long, steady unfolding, a careful shaping of land, people, and ideas. Just as our own story unfolds here in the calm of night, close your eyes, dear friend, and let us travel forward in time, beyond the forests and rivers of the Frankish kingdom, into a world where new structures of power are forming, a world of emperors, alliances, and sacred traditions. The Franks have risen, the land is settled, and in the early 10th century, a new chapter in Germany's story begins. The creation of what we know as the Holy Roman Empire. Imagine the landscape of Central Europe in this period: rolling hills, fertile river valleys, dense forests, and scattered towns and villages stretch as far as the eye can see. The Rhine and Danube rivers flow gracefully, carrying trade, travelers, and the occasional army. People live in wooden houses with thatched roofs, in stone churches that are just beginning to rise, or in fortified castles perched atop hills, protecting the surrounding lands. Life is rhythmical, tied to the seasons, to the church calendar, and to the demands of survival and community. The story of the Holy Roman Empire begins with a desire for unity, continuity, and legitimacy. After the death of Charlemagne and the fracturing of his empire, the lands of Germany were divided into smaller kingdoms and duchies. Each duke, count, and bishop ruled a piece of land, often independently, sometimes in competition with one another. It was a patchwork of power, and yet there lingered the memory of a united empire, a vision of order and authority that could bring the scattered peoples together. In 962 AD, a significant moment occurs. Otto the Rus, also known as Otto the Great, is crowned Emperor of the Romans by the Pope in Rome. Picture the grandeur of that day: the arches of the basilica, the soft glow of candlelight, the solemn chanting of priests, and the awe of nobles and warriors in attendance. Otto stands at the center, a man chosen not only by birth and strength, but also by vision and diplomacy, linking the Germanic lands to the legacy of Charlemagne and the authority of the Church. This crowning marks the symbolic birth of the Holy Roman Empire, a political entity that will endure in one form or another for nearly 1,000 years. Life within the empire is varied. In the countryside, peasants till the soil, harvest grain, and tend livestock, their lives bound to the rhythms of sun, rain, and season. In towns and emerging cities, merchants trade in cloth, metal, and food, their marketplaces bustling with voices, the creak of carts, and the scent of bread and smoke. Castles and fortified towns are centers of both defense and administration, places where local lords collect taxes, resolve disputes, and ensure order. The emperor's power is both symbolic and practical, yet always balanced against the autonomy of local rulers. This balance is delicate. Otto and his successors must negotiate with dukes, bishops, and abbots, managing alliances and rivalries with care. Imagine a council gathering in a great hall, sunlight streaming through stained glass, the air thick with the smoke of torches. Nobles speak in measured tones, offering counsel, petitioning for favors, or subtly maneuvering for advantage. The emperor listens, weighs his words carefully, and ultimately acts, knowing that every decision ripples across the empire. Religion plays a central role in the Holy Roman Empire. Christianity, carried north by the Franks and reinforced by missions and monasteries, binds the people together with shared belief. Churches rise in villages and towns, built of stone and timber, their towers reaching toward the skies. Inside, priests guide communities, celebrate masses, and educate children in reading and writing, preserving knowledge in scriptoria by candlelight. Festivals and holy days punctuate the year, offering moments of celebration, reflection, and community. Military organization is also key to the empire's stability. Warriors are called upon to defend the land, to enforce the emperor's authority, and sometimes to expand territory. Castles and fortifications dot the landscape. Perched on hills or guarding river crossings, soldiers train in the use of swords, spears, and shields, often in rhythm with the land itself. Moving through forests and valleys, they know intimately the emperor may lead campaigns, but local lords provide the bulk of the forces, reinforcing the decentralized nature of the empire. Trade and commerce flourish under the relative stability of the Holy Roman Empire. Rivers like the Rhine and the Elbe become highways of exchange. Towns develop as centers of craft and market. Merchants travel with goods from distant lands, wine from France, salt from the mountains, cloth from Italy. Guilds begin to form, teaching skills, regulating trade, and preserving quality. In these ways, the empire is both political and economic, a web of interconnections that supports life across vast distances. The empire is also a place of culture and learning. Monks in monasteries copy manuscripts, preserving ancient texts and producing new works of theology, history, and science. Scholars travel from one court to another, exchanging ideas. Music, art, and architecture flourish in ways that bind communities together and express the faith, power, and identity of the people. Imagine the gentle sound of chant echoing through a monastery, the flicker of candlelight across ancient manuscripts, the slow, steady rhythm of life in these centers of knowledge. Yet the Holy Roman Empire is not without its challenges. Nobles assert independence, rivalries flare, and external threats from neighboring peoples test its borders. The emperor must navigate this complex landscape, balancing authority with negotiation, force with diplomacy. It is a world of delicate power, where every decision matters, and where the empire survives because of careful management, shared faith, and the persistent strength of its leaders. As you imagine this, dear friend, picture yourself walking through the towns and villages of the early empire. Hear the distant clang of blacksmiths at work, the laughter of children, the low murmur of monks copying manuscripts, the call of a market vendor offering wares. Smell the mixture of wood smoke, fresh bread, and river water. Feel the rhythm of life in a world slowly becoming more organized, more connected, yet still deeply tied to land, community, and tradition. The Holy Roman Empire is not a sudden creation, but a gradual unfolding. It links past and future, the tribal strength of the Germanic peoples, the legacy of the Franks, the influence of Rome, and the enduring presence of faith. It is a kingdom of many voices, many landscapes, and many stories, bound together under the careful, measured hand of the emperor. Rest now, letting the rivers, forests, and stone towns of the empire settle around you. Imagine the flicker of candlelight in a monastery, the distant song of villagers at work, the gentle flow of the Rhine carrying goods and travelers. The Holy Roman Empire begins here, in this balance of power, faith, and daily life, a foundation that will shape centuries of German history. And so, dear friend, as the night deepens in your mind, let the story of emperors, dukes, and monks lull you into rest. Imagine the quiet strength of the land, the steady heartbeat of communities, and the slow, patient unfolding of history, guiding Germany toward its future, one calm, measured step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let yourself drift forward in time to the high medieval period. The Holy Roman Empire is established, and its lands are vast and varied, stretching from the Rhine and Danube rivers to dense forests, fertile valleys, and towering mountain ranges. Yet, within this empire, life is decentralized, shaped by a network of lords, vassals, and peasants. This is the world of feudal Germany, a tapestry of loyalty, land, and tradition, moving slowly through centuries of daily rhythm and quiet growth. Imagine the landscape: rolling hills dotted with castles perched on rocky promontories, their stone towers reaching toward the sky. Villages cluster around these strongholds, small thatched roof homes surrounded by fields of wheat, rye, and barley. Forests remain vast and mysterious, home to deer, wild boar, and wolves, and offering resources for timber, game, and fuel. Life is intimately tied to the land, its seasons, and the relationships that define the feudal system. Feudalism is a network of obligations and protections. At the top is the emperor, but most power is held by local lords who govern territories, collect taxes, and maintain armies. In return, vassals, lesser nobles, pledge loyalty, provide soldiers, and offer counsel. Peasants, or serfs, work the land, providing food and labor, while receiving protection and the right to live on the Lord's estates. It is a delicate balance, a hierarchy that structures daily life and maintains order in a world without centralized bureaucracy. Imagine a day in a feudal village. At dawn, the rooster crows, families rise from wooden beds, the floor cool beneath their feet. Women draw water from a nearby well, prepare bread, tend gardens, and care for children. Men go to the fields, plowing, sowing, or harvesting depending on the season. Children help with chores, learn skills from parents, and listen to stories of ancestors, of knights and kings, of gods and saints. The village is alive with quiet movement, each person performing their role in the slow rhythm of life. Castles are centers of both power and protection. Imagine a stone fortress perched on a hill, thick walls rising high, towers watching the surrounding land. Inside, the lord and his family reside, along with knights, soldiers, and servants. The castle is a hub of activity. Cooks prepare meals in smoky kitchens, blacksmiths hammer out weapons and tools, scribes copy documents, and guards patrol the battlements. It is a place of authority, a safe haven for those within, and a symbol of control for those outside. Life in feudal Germany is also deeply intertwined with the church. Monasteries and abbeys rise across the land, centers of faith, learning, and culture. Imagine a quiet monastery in a forest clearing, sunlight streaming through stained glass, the soft sound of chanting monks echoing across stone halls. Monks labor at copying manuscripts, tending gardens, and educating novices. They preserve knowledge of medicine, agriculture, and law, creating a continuity that connects generations and ensures the survival of ideas even as political powers shift. Knights play a vital role in this society, both as warriors and symbols of honor. Imagine a knight donning armor in the early morning, the clink of metal echoing across the courtyard. He mounts his horse, practices with lance and sword, and prepares to serve his lord. Chivalric codes begin to take shape. Honor, loyalty, and courage are celebrated, and stories of heroic deeds circulate through villages, castles, and courts. Tournaments and festivals bring communities together, offering entertainment, education, and reinforcement of social bonds. Trade and commerce slowly develop despite the fragmented political landscape. Markets emerge in towns along rivers and crossroads, where merchants offer cloth, tools, spices, and metals. River transport becomes essential. The Rhine, Elbe, and Danube carry goods and travelers, linking distant settlements. Guilds form, teaching craft, regulating trade, and ensuring quality. Even in this feudal world, movement and exchange allow for gradual prosperity and cultural development. The peasant life, though often hard, is rich in rhythm and community. Serfs work fields from dawn to dusk, their days dictated by sunlight and seasons. They sow and reap, care for livestock, and repair homes. Festivals provide moments of rest and celebration. The harvest festival, holy days, and communal feasts bring laughter, music, and a shared sense of belonging. Storytelling by firelight preserves history, legends, and morality tales, guiding children in their understanding of the world. Feudal Germany is also a land of conflict and negotiation. Lords may dispute borders, knights may rebel, and towns sometimes resist taxation or military service. Yet, these conflicts are tempered by tradition, custom, and the intertwined obligations of the feudal system. Battles and sieges, though dramatic, are part of a broader tapestry of social structure, law, and hierarchy that gives life stability even amid uncertainty. Imagine a winter evening in a feudal village. Snow blankets the fields and forests. Smoke rises from chimneys as families gather around fires. Children play quietly, pets curl beside them, and elders tell tales of past winters, of heroic nights, and of saints' miracles. Outside, a watchman patrols the palisades, keeping an eye on the darkened forest. The world feels both protective and alive, a living system of interdependence and rhythm, where everyone knows their role and place. Culture and faith are deeply intertwined. Church festivals punctuate the calendar, marking seasons and events with songs, prayers, and processions. Monks and priests teach reading, writing, and moral lessons. Art and architecture develop gradually, from wooden churches to stone cathedrals. Music, poetry, and storytelling flourish, preserving the collective memory of the people and connecting the past with the present. Feudal Germany is also a world of nature and rhythm. Rivers flood and recede, forests grow and are cleared for farmland. Animals are raised for food and labor. People observe the stars for timekeeping, follow the cycles of planting and harvest, and live in close harmony with their environment. Every action, planting, harvesting, building, praying, is part of a larger flow of life, a slow, deliberate rhythm that ties the people to the land and to each other. As you drift through this world, dear friend, picture yourself walking along a snow-dusted path toward a distant village. Hear the murmur of the stream, the laughter of children, the distant clang of a blacksmith hammering iron. Smell the smoke from fireplaces the aroma of bread baking, the forest air crisp and clean. Feel the slow heartbeat of feudal life, structured, grounded, and enduring. Feudal Germany is not a world of sudden change, but of steady continuity, of obligations and loyalties, of faith and labor. It is a world where communities survive, grow, and preserve identity through centuries of rhythm and care. Lords, vassals, knights, peasants, and monks all play their parts, shaping a society that will influence German history for generations. Rest now, letting the castles, villages, forests, and rivers of feudal Germany settle around you. Imagine the quiet rhythm of life, the soft flicker of candlelight, the low murmur of voices, and the gentle pulse of history unfolding slowly but steadily like the turn of a river or the rise of the sun over the horizon. This is the heartbeat of a world that endures, a world we will continue to explore as Germany moves forward through the ages. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift forward in time from the rural landscapes of feudal Germany into a world that is slowly changing, a world of growth, trade, and bustling life. It is the High Middle Ages, roughly the 11th to 13th centuries, a period when towns and cities begin to rise amidst the forests, rivers, and farmlands of the German lands. Imagine the landscape now: rolling hills dotted with castles and abbeys, rivers winding through fertile valleys, and now, small towns beginning to emerge. Timber houses line cobbled streets, markets buzz with activity, and the distant towers of churches punctuate the skyline. Smoke curls from chimneys where bread bakes and fires warm homes. Life is more complex now, a blend of rural rhythm and urban energy, of tradition and change. The rise of cities is driven by trade and commerce. Imagine merchants traveling along the Rhine and Danube rivers, carrying cloth, spices, salt, metals, and pottery. Caravans creak along forest paths, ferries cross rivers, and bustling markets form in towns like Cologne, Lübeck, and Nuremberg. Traders set up stalls, bartering goods, exchanging news, and fostering connections that stretch across Europe. Cities become hubs of economic activity, drawing people from the countryside seeking work, opportunity, and community. Life in the cities is lively and varied. Craftsmen, blacksmiths, carpenters, weavers, and potters work in small workshops, teaching apprentices their skills. Imagine the rhythmic hammering of a blacksmith, the clatter of looms in a weaving house, and the smell of wood smoke, metal, and fresh bread mingling in the streets. Townspeople form guilds, associations that regulate trade, ensure quality, and provide support to members. These guilds are both economic and social, creating networks that guide young apprentices, settle disputes, and organize festivals. Cities also bring new forms of governance. Towns gain charters, granting them a measure of self-rule, allowing citizens to elect councils, regulate markets, and manage local law. Imagine a town hall bustling with activity, sunlight streaming through wooden windows, councilors debating trade regulations, taxes, and city defenses. This autonomy allows cities to flourish, fostering a sense of identity and civic pride among their inhabitants. Education and culture flourish alongside commerce. Monasteries and cathedral schools remain centers of learning, but urban schools and universities begin to emerge. Imagine young students walking through narrow streets toward a lecture hall, carrying scrolls and ink, eager to learn about philosophy, law, theology, and science. Scholars gather to debate, to write, and to preserve knowledge, blending the wisdom of the past with new ideas that will shape the future. Religion remains central to life. Gothic cathedrals rise across the German lands, their stone walls reaching skyward, intricate windows casting colored light across the floors. Imagine a cathedral in progress, masons carving stone, carpenters shaping wooden beams, and laborers hauling materials. Inside, priests chant, bells toll, and townspeople gather for festivals, weddings, and holy days. Faith provides structure, comfort, and community, connecting people across the city and surrounding countryside. Yet, life is not without challenges. Cities are often crowded, with narrow streets and wooden buildings that burn easily. Disease can spread, markets may fluctuate, and rivalries sometimes erupt into violence. Outside the city walls, peasants continue their toil, paying taxes or tithes to lords and contributing to the urban economy through goods and labor. The balance between rural and urban life is delicate, but it is a dynamic balance that shapes the medieval German world. Trade networks expand even further through the Hanseatic League, a federation of northern German cities. Imagine the northern ports along the Baltic and North Seas, Lübeck, Hamburg, and Bremen, bustling with ships carrying salt, timber, furs, and grain. Merchants negotiate deals. Ships creak under cargo, and sailors call out across the masts. The League provides security and standards, enabling cities to prosper and to influence politics and commerce across Northern Europe. Daily life in the city is a mixture of work, faith, and celebration. Imagine a day in a medieval city. Merchants arranging goods at sunrise, children following parents to workshops, women baking bread and weaving cloth, and the aroma of fresh food wafting through narrow alleys. Bells signal the hours, and townspeople pause for prayer or reflection. Festivals, fairs, and markets provide both entertainment and social cohesion, moments when the city's heartbeat quickens in shared experience. Art and architecture flourish in this period. Gothic cathedrals, with pointed arches, ribbed vaults, and stained glass, symbolize both devotion and civic pride. Sculpture and painting adorn churches, depicting biblical stories, saints, and patrons. Music fills halls and streets, from sacred chants to the lively tunes of minstrels. These cultural achievements are intertwined with faith, commerce, and the urban environment, creating a rich tapestry of medieval life. As cities rise, the relationship between lords, clergy, and townspeople evolves. Nobles sometimes grant charters to towns in exchange for taxes and loyalty, while clergy guide education and spiritual life. Townspeople gain influence and economic power, occasionally challenging lords or asserting rights. It is a world of negotiation, interdependence, and gradual social transformation, laying the groundwork for more centralized authority in later centuries. The High Middle Ages are also a time of exploration and curiosity. Pilgrimages, trade journeys, and the Crusades bring news of distant lands, goods, and ideas. German merchants and knights travel to Italy, France, and the Levant, encountering new cultures, learning new languages, and bringing back knowledge, treasures, and inspiration. Imagine a merchant returning from a long journey, his cart filled with spices, silks, and stories of faraway cities, captivating townspeople with tales of distant seas and bustling markets. Rest now, dear friend, letting yourself drift through these medieval streets and rivers, through bustling markets, quiet workshops, and towering cathedrals. Imagine the clang of hammers, the scent of fresh bread, the soft murmur of prayer, and the laughter of children playing near the city walls. This is the heartbeat of the High Middle Ages, a world alive with commerce, culture, faith, and community, slowly transforming the German lands into hubs of trade, learning, and influence. The rise of cities brings connection, opportunity, and a rhythm that complements rural life. Farmers supply goods, artisans craft tools, merchants exchange ideas, and clergy preserve knowledge. Every day is a thread in the growing fabric of medieval German society, a fabric woven with patience, labor, and shared purpose. As night falls over this imagined medieval city, picture the rooftops silhouetted against a sky dotted with stars. Fires burn softly in homes, candles flicker in churches, and the distant call of a night watchman echoes through narrow streets. Life continues, calm and steady, even amid the bustle of a world in transformation. The High Middle Ages have arrived, and with them, the pulse of cities begins to shape the rhythm of German history in new and enduring ways. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift further through time into the late Middle Ages, roughly the 14th and 15th centuries. The cities of Germany have grown, trade has expanded, and the rhythms of rural and urban life continue. But the land is now touched by uncertainty and shadow. Political fragmentation persists. Regional lords vie for influence, and an invisible force, the Black Death, begins to sweep across Europe, changing life forever. Picture the landscape. Rolling hills and forests still dominate, dotted with walled cities and fortified castles. Rivers like the Rhine and Danube flow steadily, carrying goods, travelers, and news. Villages hum with activity during the day. Markets are busy with merchants and townsfolk, and the countryside remains a patchwork of fields, meadows, and forests. Yet beneath the surface, tension simmers. Political disputes, famine, and disease lurk quietly, ready to reshape the lives of millions. The social and political structure of the empire is complex. Nobles maintain control over their lands, collecting taxes and enforcing laws, while bishops and abbots hold spiritual and sometimes temporal authority. Towns have grown, and guilds now regulate crafts, trade, and economic activity with greater sophistication. The emperor's authority remains symbolic, dependent on the cooperation of powerful lords and the church. It is a world of delicate balance where alliances, disputes, and loyalty must constantly be managed. Imagine a day in a German town during this period. Merchants arrange goods at sunrise: cloth, spices, salt, metal tools, and pottery. Artisans work in workshops, hammering, weaving, or shaping clay. Children follow parents, learning the trade or helping with chores. The market square hums with voices, the creak of carts, and the occasional bray of a mule. Bells toll from churches, calling townspeople to prayer, reminding them of both faith and the passage of time. The late Middle Ages are also a time of warfare and conflict. Local lords vie for influence, knights defend territories, and sometimes towns rise in rebellion. Imagine a small skirmish near a village. Spears clash, horses whinny, and the dust rises in clouds. Despite this, the rhythm of daily life continues. Peasants tend their fields, craftsmen hammer away in workshops, and families gather for meals and stories by the fire. Life is resilient, persistent, and intertwined with the land itself. Yet, perhaps the most transformative event of this period is the arrival of the Black Death, the Great Plague of the mid-14th century. Imagine a silent, invisible shadow moving from town to town, village to village, carried by trade routes, rats, and fleas. People notice first the sudden sickness, the high fever, the blackened swellings, the despair. Entire communities are affected, with mortality rates sometimes exceeding half the population. Fear spreads as swiftly as the disease, and towns that once hummed with commerce fall eerily silent. Life during the plague is slow, cautious, and marked by grief. Families care for the sick, often losing loved ones. Monks and priests struggle to maintain spiritual guidance, traveling between towns and ministering to the afflicted. Imagine the quiet despair of a village. Doors closed, streets empty, the scent of smoke from hearths mixing with illness. Daily rhythms continue, but every action is touched by the shadow of mortality. Even in this darkness, human resilience persists. Communities adapt, fields are replanted, homes repaired, and trade resumes once fear subsides. Labor becomes more valuable, peasants can negotiate better terms, and towns slowly recover. The plague reshapes society, highlighting both vulnerability and adaptability. It accelerates economic and social changes, leading to shifts in land ownership, labor practices, and urban growth. Culturally, the late Middle Ages are vibrant despite these challenges. Gothic cathedrals continue to rise, their spires reaching toward the heavens, adorned with sculptures and stained glass. Art, music, and literature flourish, reflecting both devotion and human experience. Stories of saints, miracles, and morality circulate alongside tales of everyday life, trade, and heroism. Imagine children listening by firelight to tales of brave knights, wise monks, and villagers who persevered through adversity. The church remains central, guiding both spiritual and daily life. Pilgrimages, festivals, and holy days punctuate the calendar, providing rhythm and continuity amidst upheaval. Monasteries preserve knowledge, teach literacy, and provide care for the sick and poor. Clergy mediate disputes, advise rulers, and offer comfort to those struggling with loss and fear. Their presence is a stabilizing force in a world increasingly aware of mortality. Trade continues to shape society. Cities in northern Germany, part of the Hanseatic League, maintain commerce with distant regions. Salt, timber, furs, grain, and textiles move along rivers and seas. Merchants negotiate deals, guilds regulate quality, and ports bustle with activity. Even as the plague disrupts life, the economy slowly adapts, emphasizing resilience, networks, and the interconnection of communities. Daily life is a mixture of labor, faith, and community. Imagine a family tending a field near the Rhine, plowing, sowing, and harvesting in rhythm with the seasons. Children learn trades or assist with chores. At night, families gather around the hearth, telling stories, singing songs, and observing holy rituals. Despite external threats, plague, famine, or conflict, the human desire for connection, care, and routine endures. The late Middle Ages also witness political consolidation in some areas. Local lords and emerging monarchs attempt to centralize power, impose law, and manage territories more efficiently. Towns negotiate charters, guilds assert influence, and regional alliances form. It is a world of negotiation, adaptation, and cautious growth, balancing continuity with change. As you imagine this, dear friend, picture a quiet evening in a medieval village. The sky darkens, stars appear above forests and rivers, smoke drifts from chimneys, the sound of a bell tolls in the distance, and children settle into sleep. Life continues slowly and steadily, even amidst uncertainty. This is the heartbeat of late medieval Germany, a mixture of resilience, community, faith, and adaptation. A world that survives, learns, and moves forward. Rest now, letting the rivers, towns, forests, and cathedrals of the late Middle Ages settle around you. Imagine the steady rhythm of work and prayer, of trade and craft, of grief and joy flowing together like the gentle currents of the Rhine. The Black Death may have left its mark, yet life endures. Communities adapt, and history quietly unfolds, guiding Germany toward the future, one calm, patient step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the early 16th century, a time of profound change, reflection, and quiet upheaval in Germany. The streets of towns and villages are bustling as before, rivers flow steadily, and forests rise dark and protective in the distance. Yet a new movement begins to stir the hearts and minds of the people, a spiritual and cultural shift known as the Reformation, led by a man named Martin Luther. Imagine a world dominated by the church, its influence stretching across villages, towns, and cities. Priests guide daily prayers, monasteries preserve knowledge, and cathedrals reach toward the heavens, their spires reflecting both faith and authority. Pilgrimages, festivals, and rituals punctuate the rhythm of life, binding communities together. Yet some people begin to question, to wonder, and to seek change. Martin Luther, a monk and scholar, lives in the quiet town of Wittenberg. Picture him walking through the cobbled streets, the sunlight reflecting off the stone of the university where he studies, a book tucked under his arm. He meditates, prays, and writes, deeply concerned with the spiritual life of the people and the practices of the church. He observes the selling of indulgences, the accumulation of wealth, and the moral inconsistencies he perceives, and he begins to feel compelled to act. In 1517, Luther famously nails his 95 Theses to the door of the Wittenberg Castle Church. Imagine the quiet anticipation of that moment, the soft creak of the wooden door, the flutter of papers in the breeze, the hushed curiosity of townspeople gathering to read the words. These theses question church practices, call for reform, and invite debate. What begins as a local act quickly spreads, carried along trade routes, through universities, and eventually across the entire Holy Roman Empire. The Reformation sparks profound change. Townspeople read Luther's writings, engaging in discussion and reflection. Monks, priests, and scholars debate ideas, sometimes passionately, sometimes quietly. German cities become centers of intellectual and spiritual ferment, where people explore questions of faith, authority, and personal conscience. Imagine a small printing workshop in Nuremberg. Presses clatter, ink smells of wood and oil. Sheets of paper are carefully stacked and distributed, and townspeople read eagerly, absorbing ideas that challenge old traditions. Religion begins to shift in tangible ways. Luther emphasizes direct access to Scripture, encouraging people to read the Bible in their own language. Services change, with sermons delivered in German rather than Latin, and congregations participating more actively in worship. Music flourishes, with hymns and chorales becoming part of communal devotion. Imagine the gentle sound of voices in a church, rising in harmony as people sing together, a new sense of connection and reflection filling the space. The Reformation is not only spiritual, but also political. Princes and city councils weigh the benefits of adopting Luther's ideas, sometimes for genuine belief, sometimes for political advantage. Imagine a castle council in Saxony. A duke listens to advisors, weighing the potential alliances, benefits, and conflicts of adopting Protestantism. These decisions ripple across the region, altering the landscape of power, faith, and identity in Germany. Daily life during the Reformation continues amid these changes. Farmers tend fields, artisans craft goods, and merchants conduct trade. Yet conversations at markets, in taverns, and in homes increasingly revolve around new ideas of faith, morality, and community. Families discuss sermons, children learn new hymns, and communities navigate the delicate balance between tradition and innovation. Life is both familiar and evolving, a mixture of continuity and change. Conflict occasionally erupts as old and new beliefs collide. Towns experience debates, and sometimes skirmishes occur between supporters of different religious views. Yet these moments are tempered by negotiation, counsel, and the enduring rhythm of daily life. Imagine a village square where a preacher speaks passionately, townspeople listen intently, and later, neighbors gather quietly around a fire to discuss what they have heard. This is a world of ideas taking root, slowly transforming culture and society. Education and literacy grow during this period. Schools, universities, and printing presses spread knowledge. Children and adults alike learn to read and write, enabling them to engage with texts, participate in discussion, and form opinions. Imagine a quiet study. A young student reads a Bible in German, ink smudged on fingers, candlelight flickering on parchment, absorbing ideas that will shape their understanding of the world. The Reformation also impacts art, music, and literature. Hymns and sacred songs spread, often sung by entire communities. Visual art reflects new religious ideas, focusing on devotion, morality, and everyday life, rather than solely on saints and biblical scenes. Literature, both religious and secular, explores themes of morality, faith, and the human experience. German culture becomes more reflective, literate, and expressive during this period. weaving the spiritual and practical into daily life. As you imagine this, dear friend, picture walking through Wittenberg or Nuremberg in the early 16th century. Cobblestone streets echo with footsteps, the gentle clatter of printing presses, and the distant toll of church bells. Townspeople discuss sermons, children sing new hymns, and artisans work in quiet workshops. Forests and rivers provide the backdrop, grounding life in nature, even as human thought and culture expand. The Reformation is a story of courage, reflection, and transformation. It reshapes faith, society, and identity in Germany, planting seeds of change that will influence centuries to come. Life continues, steady and resilient, with daily rhythms of work, worship, and community intertwined with new ideas that challenge old structures and inspire growth. Rest now, letting the streets, rivers, towns, and forests of Reformation Germany settle around you. Imagine the quiet reflection of a scholar in a study, the gentle singing of a congregation, the rhythmic work of artisans, and the calm flow of life continuing amid change. The Reformation is both a whisper and a movement, a reminder of thought, faith, and human persistence as history unfolds gently, patiently, and steadily. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift forward into the early 17th century, a time of turbulence, upheaval, and profound transformation in the lands of Germany. The Reformation has reshaped faith and society. Cities and towns have grown, and yet, beneath the surface, tension simmers. Political, religious, and dynastic disputes are gathering strength, ready to burst into a conflict that will mark the German lands for decades. The 30 Years' War. Picture the landscape before the storm: forested hills, fertile river valleys, walled towns, and quiet villages stretch across Central Europe. Rivers like the Rhine, Elbe, and Danube flow steadily, carrying goods, travelers, and news. Life continues its familiar rhythm. Farmers till the soil, merchants trade along cobblestone streets, and monks chant in monasteries. Yet, like a quiet tension in the air before a storm, the seeds of war are taking root. The conflict begins in 1618 in Bohemia, but its effects ripple across the Holy Roman Empire. The war is driven by religious divisions, primarily between Protestant and Catholic states, but it also involves political ambitions, territorial disputes, and the interplay of European powers. Imagine a village council meeting in a small town. Local leaders whisper anxiously about the approach of armies, uncertain whether their homes and lands will be spared. Farmers continue to work fields, aware that danger may be closer than it seems, yet determined to maintain life as best they can. Armies move slowly across forests, rivers, and hills. Cavalry clops along dirt roads. Infantry marches in formation, banners flutter in the wind, and the distant sound of drums marks the approach of soldiers. Camps are set up near villages and towns, sometimes providing trade opportunities for locals, sometimes bringing fear and requisition of goods. Life for ordinary people is a careful balance of survival, negotiation, and adaptation. Sieges and battles leave a lasting mark on the land. Castles, towns, and villages are often damaged or destroyed. Fields lie fallow as peasants flee or are forced into service. Rivers carry the movement of armies, supplies, and sometimes displaced people. Imagine a misty morning on the outskirts of a small town. The smoke of a distant battle rises into the sky, and villagers cautiously tend to their animals while keeping an eye on the approaching soldiers. Life continues, fragile yet persistent, amidst chaos. The 30 Years' War also brings profound human suffering. Disease spreads in army camps. Famine strikes regions where crops are abandoned, and families endure loss and displacement. Monasteries and churches try to provide aid, offering food, shelter, and care. But the scale of devastation is immense. Villagers and townspeople must adapt, relying on resourcefulness, communal support, and resilience to survive. Imagine a quiet night in a small village. Children sleep beside their parents. The wind rustles through the trees, and the distant echo of drums fades, leaving the land momentarily still. Yet, even in the darkness, pockets of resilience and continuity persist. Farmers continue to sow seeds where they can, artisans repair tools and homes, and communities gather for prayer and mutual support. Education and religious practices endure where possible, maintaining a thread of stability amid uncertainty. The rhythm of life, though interrupted, is never completely silenced. The war is not only local, it is international. France, Sweden, Spain, and other powers intervene, turning Germany into a battleground for competing European ambitions. Cities and towns navigate the complex web of alliances, taxes, and military occupation, often negotiating survival with passing armies. Merchants adapt, moving goods clandestinely, and towns attempt to rebuild after sieges. Life is marked by caution, strategy, and hope, even when the horizon seems clouded by conflict. As the war drags on, Germany is fragmented politically and economically. Some regions flourish briefly under local governance, while others are depopulated or impoverished. Rivers, forests, and fields carry the quiet continuity of nature, reminding people of enduring rhythms beyond human conflict. Imagine walking along a riverbank where soldiers once camped. The water flows steadily, birds sing in the trees, and wildflowers bloom in abandoned fields. The land heals slowly, patiently, in its own rhythm. Peace finally comes with the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. Imagine the quiet relief as diplomats sign agreements in distant halls, the formal words restoring boundaries, sovereignty, and some measure of stability. Cities and villages begin the slow work of reconstruction. Peasants return to fields, merchants reopen shops, and churches resume services. The scars of war remain visible, yet life, resilient and persistent, continues. Culturally, Germany begins to reflect on the lessons of the war. Art, literature, and music capture both suffering and hope. Churches and monasteries rebuild, preserving faith and knowledge. Families and communities strengthen bonds, remembering both loss and perseverance. Life resumes its rhythms, sowing, harvesting, prayer, trade, and celebration, intertwined with a newfound awareness of fragility and endurance. As you imagine this, dear friend, picture a quiet evening in post-war Germany. Smoke curls gently from chimneys, rivers flow steadily, and forests whisper softly in the wind. Children play near village edges, artisans hammer tools in small workshops, and townspeople gather for quiet reflection. The scars of war are fading, replaced by steady rhythms of daily life, resilient communities, and the patient unfolding of history. The 30 Years' War is a story of conflict, suffering, and resilience. It shapes Germany profoundly, influencing politics, religion, society, and culture for generations. Yet amid devastation, life endures, communities adapt, and the land slowly heals, reminding us of the persistence of human spirit and the quiet, steady rhythm of history itself. Rest now, letting rivers, forests, towns, and fields of post-war Germany settle around you. Feel the gentle pulse of life returning, the soft flicker of candles, the distant toll of church bells, and the steady heartbeat of communities rebuilding. History moves forward patiently, steadily, and quietly, like the flow of a river or the rise of the morning sun, guiding Germany toward a new chapter. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift forward into the 17th and 18th centuries, a time when Germany begins to transform once again, shaped by ideas, governance, and the steady rise of one kingdom in particular. Prussia, the 30 Years' War, is behind the land, leaving scars, but also resilience. Rivers flow, forests whisper, and towns and cities slowly recover, their rhythm of life intertwined with both tradition and new ideas. Picture the landscape: rolling hills, dense forests, meandering rivers, and fertile plains. Towns are rebuilding, markets are bustling, and churches rise once more. Castles and palaces begin to reflect not only defense, but also prestige and culture. The countryside is dotted with farms, villages, and manors, where life moves steadily with the seasons, guided by labor, faith, and emerging governance. The Age of Enlightenment begins to influence thought across Europe, and German lands are no exception. Imagine a scholar in a quiet study, candlelight flickering over stacks of books, manuscripts, and maps. Ideas about reason, science, education, and governance circulate among thinkers, philosophers, and reformers. People begin to question traditional authority, explore natural law, and value observation and intellect. Education grows in importance, with universities and schools fostering learning and critical thinking. Meanwhile, Prussia rises quietly but steadily from its position as a small duchy. Imagine Frederick William, known as the Great Elector, walking along the walls of Berlin, overseeing the organization of his territories. He strengthens administration, creates a disciplined army, and builds alliances, carefully balancing diplomacy and domestic reform. Prussia's rise is deliberate, patient, and calculated, a reflection of foresight and persistence. The Prussian state is defined by military strength and efficient governance. Armies are organized, trained, and disciplined, moving in precise formations across open fields and through forests. Imagine drills in early morning mist, the rhythmic clatter of weapons and armor, soldiers learning to act as one. The army is not only a tool of defense, but also a symbol of order and authority, establishing Prussia as a rising power in the German lands. Life in Prussia and other German territories is still deeply connected to agriculture and local communities. Farmers tend fields of wheat, rye, and barley, care for livestock, and participate in seasonal festivals. Villages and towns provide rhythm and structure, with markets, churches, and guilds forming the fabric of daily life. Children learn trades from parents, apprentices follow masters in workshops, and families celebrate together during festivals, harvests, and holy days. Life is grounded, steady, and intertwined with both land and community. The Enlightenment also influences culture, arts, and education. Palaces and town halls are adorned with architecture reflecting reason, symmetry, and beauty. Music, from the compositions of Telemann and later Bach, fills churches, salons, and courts, creating an atmosphere of reflection and sophistication. Art depicts both religious and secular subjects, emphasizing human experience, natural beauty, and moral lessons. Imagine walking through a carefully planned garden or palace, the sun casting soft light across marble and fountains, the air filled with music and quiet conversation. Prussia's rise is closely linked to centralized administration. Frederick William and his successors implement reforms that strengthen taxation, law enforcement, and bureaucracy. Imagine council meetings in stately halls. Advisors discuss trade, military strategy, education, and infrastructure, decisions flowing carefully from rulers to local administrators. This structured governance provides stability, predictability, and efficiency, enabling Prussia to grow steadily as a power within the fragmented Holy Roman Empire. Religion continues to shape daily life. Lutheran and Reformed churches guide moral conduct, festivals, and community rituals. Monasteries and schools educate children, preserve manuscripts, and maintain libraries. Even as Enlightenment ideas spread, faith provides continuity, grounding individuals and communities in shared values, rhythm, and tradition. Imagine the gentle echo of hymn singing in a village church, candlelight flickering across stone walls, connecting generations through devotion and reflection. Trade and commerce flourish alongside these developments. Cities like Hamburg, Leipzig, and Bremen are hubs of economic activity. Merchants transport textiles, grains, spices, and tools along rivers and over roads. Markets bustle, workshops hum with activity, and guilds regulate craftsmanship and trade. This blend of rural production and urban commerce weaves a resilient network across the German lands, connecting towns, cities, and regions. Prussia's rise also reflects strategic diplomacy and alliances. Frederick the Great, later in the 18th century, negotiates with European powers, carefully balancing conflict and cooperation. Wars are fought with precision, but diplomacy often achieves results as effectively as armies. Imagine maps spread across a table, advisors debating borders, treaties, and strategy. The flicker of candlelight illuminating careful plans for the future. Education and literacy expand during this period. Schools teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and moral instruction. Universities nurture scholars, scientists, and thinkers. Ideas from the Enlightenment influence not only elites, but gradually reach broader communities through books, pamphlets, and discussion. Imagine a quiet study with a student tracing letters by candlelight, absorbing knowledge that connects them to a wider world of thought, reason, and exploration. Life in towns and villages remains grounded in daily rhythm and seasonal cycles. Fields are plowed, crops sown, animals tended, and festivals celebrated. Communities gather for markets, religious ceremonies, and social events. Music, storytelling, and crafts enrich life, creating continuity and shared identity even as change sweeps through governance, culture, and thought. As you imagine this, dear friend, picture walking through Prussian towns and countryside, mist rising over fields at dawn, the soft clatter of horses along cobblestone streets, children running toward school, merchants opening shutters on market stalls, palaces and city halls rise proudly, forests whisper gently, rivers flow steadily, and the sun casts golden light across land and water. The heartbeat of life continues, patient, deliberate, and resilient. The Age of Enlightenment and the rise of Prussia are a story of reason, organization, and steady ambition. Germany is changing, politically, culturally, and socially, yet daily life retains its rhythm, anchored in land, community, faith, and craft. Life moves forward patiently, carefully, and steadily, reflecting both continuity and transformation. Rest now, letting the forests, rivers, towns, and palaces of Enlightenment era Germany settle around you. Hear the gentle hum of workshops, the soft echo of hymns, the flowing river, and the steady footsteps of people walking through life. History unfolds quietly and patiently, guiding Germany toward new heights, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the late 18th and early 19th centuries, a time when Germany faces profound upheaval and transformation. The Enlightenment has shaped thought, culture, and governance, and yet a storm is brewing in Europe. France, inspired by revolution, rises as a powerful force, and the figure of Napoleon Bonaparte casts a long shadow over the German lands. Picture the landscape. Forests whisper in the wind, rivers like the Rhine and Elbe flow steadily, and towns and cities continue their daily rhythms. Villages are dotted with timber houses and farmsteads. Fields stretch into the horizon, and castles and palaces stand as reminders of centuries past. Yet the air carries a tension. Armies march, alliances shift, and the familiar rhythms of life are about to be disrupted. The Napoleonic Wars begin to reshape Germany in the early 1800s. Napoleon's campaigns sweep through Central Europe, dissolving old structures, redrawing borders, and imposing new political realities. Imagine the movement of French soldiers, orderly columns marching across plains, artillery rumbling over cobblestone roads, and banners fluttering in the wind. Towns brace for the arrival of troops, markets quiet as people watch, and peasants continue their work cautiously, aware that change is approaching. The Holy Roman Empire, which has endured for centuries, is formally dissolved in 1806. Imagine the quiet shock in cities like Vienna and Frankfurt, banners lowered, council halls emptying, and the slow recognition that centuries of tradition are giving way to something new. The political map of Germany is redrawn, with many smaller states consolidated into larger entities, and the Napoleonic influence brings new ideas of law, administration, and governance. Life under Napoleonic rule is both challenging and transformative. French reforms introduce modern legal codes, more standardized administration, and new opportunities for education and civic participation. Imagine a village meeting where officials explain new laws, taxes, and responsibilities, farmers, artisans, and merchants adjust to changing rules, learning to navigate both continuity and innovation. While war disrupts life, it also brings lessons in adaptation and resilience. Amid these changes, German culture and society continue to evolve. Cities grow as trade, and crafts adapt to new conditions. Schools and universities expand, teaching ideas influenced by both Enlightenment thought and Napoleonic reforms. Imagine students walking through cobbled streets toward lecture halls, carrying books and notes, absorbing ideas about law, science, and philosophy that will shape the future of Germany. The battlefields of Germany are stark reminders of the cost of war. Villages are sometimes occupied by armies, fields trampled, and towns forced to provide supplies. Yet life persists. Farmers tend what crops remain. Children play in alleys while soldiers march past, and townspeople rebuild after skirmishes. Imagine a quiet morning after a long march. Smoke rises gently from chimneys, carts trundle along roads, and the distant sound of church bells signals that life endures, even amid disruption. Following Napoleon's defeat in 1815, the Congress of Vienna seeks to restore stability. German states are reorganized into the German Confederation, a loose association of 39 states designed to balance power, preserve sovereignty, and maintain peace. Imagine delegates gathering in grand halls, sunlight streaming through tall windows, maps spread across tables, advisors whispering, and ink quills moving steadily as agreements are recorded. Life in towns and villages slowly adjusts to this new political structure. The German Confederation represents both continuity and fragmentation. Local rulers retain significant power. Cities continue to thrive, and communities maintain daily rhythms. Yet the Confederation also introduces new forms of cooperation, diplomacy, and oversight. Imagine council meetings in regional capitals, discussions of trade, infrastructure, law, and defense take place, decisions slowly shaping the future of the German lands. Daily life for ordinary people continues, grounded in agriculture, trade, and family routines. Farmers sow and harvest, artisans craft goods, merchants transport wares, and festivals mark the rhythms of the year. Life is steady, resilient, and intertwined with the land and community, even as political structures shift above. Imagine a quiet afternoon in a village near the Rhine. Children play by the river, women gather herbs, men repair tools, and smoke drifts gently from chimneys. The Napoleonic era and the German Confederation also influence culture, arts, and thought. Romanticism begins to flourish, inspired by nature, history, and the human spirit. Literature, music, and visual arts explore both the beauty and struggles of life. Imagine walking through a city square, the scent of fresh bread from bakeries, the soft notes of a violin drifting from a window, and people reading or discussing poetry that celebrates both past and present. Religion continues to provide structure, comfort, and community. Churches and monasteries guide spiritual life, host festivals, and educate children. Even amid political change, the daily rhythm of prayer, worship, and communal gathering persists. Imagine candlelight flickering in a church at dusk, the gentle sound of a choir echoing across stone walls, connecting generations in shared reflection and devotion. Trade and commerce adapt to new realities. Cities maintain their markets and guilds, and new roads and infrastructure improve connectivity. Merchants navigate shifting borders, transporting goods and ideas. Imagine a river port where ships are loaded with grain, textiles, and timber, sailors calling across masts, and the sun glinting off the water as life flows steadily, guided by commerce and human ingenuity. As you imagine this, dear friend, picture a quiet evening in post-Napoleonic Germany. Smoke drifts from chimneys, rivers flow steadily, forests whisper in the wind, and the distant toll of church bells marks the hour. Life continues, slow, resilient, and patient. People rebuild, communities adapt, and history unfolds steadily, weaving lessons from conflict into the fabric of society. The Napoleonic Wars and the German Confederation are a story of upheaval, adaptation, and resilience. Germany is changing politically, socially, and culturally, yet daily life persists, anchored in land, community, and rhythm. Life moves forward patiently, carefully, and steadily, like rivers flowing through fields, forests, and towns, guiding the German lands toward new chapters. Rest now, letting the towns, rivers, forests, and fields of early 19th century Germany settle around you. Hear the soft clatter of carts, the gentle flow of the Rhine, the flicker of candlelight, and the steady heartbeat of communities rebuilding. History continues, patiently and quietly, leading Germany into the modern era, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the 19th century, a time of profound transformation in the German lands. Following the political reorganization under the German Confederation, the rhythm of daily life begins to shift. Villages and towns, once solely tied to agriculture, now witness the emergence of industry, innovation, and new patterns of work and life. This is the era of the Industrial Revolution in Germany. Picture the landscape. Rolling hills and river valleys remain dotted with forests and farmlands, yet new elements appear. Brick factories rise near rivers, smokestacks punctuate skylines, and railways stretch across plains and forests, connecting towns and cities. Towns hum with energy, while countryside villages continue their agricultural rhythms, adjusting slowly to the changes unfolding nearby. The Industrial Revolution begins modestly in Germany, later than in Britain, but its effects are transformative. Imagine a small textile workshop. Spindles turn, looms click rhythmically, and workers move with practiced precision. Steam engines hiss softly, and the smell of oil, fabric, and wood fills the air. This combination of human skill and mechanical innovation marks a new chapter in German life, blending tradition with progress. Railroads change the rhythm of both work and travel. Imagine a steam train puffing along tracks through forests, hills, and rivers, connecting distant cities. Merchants transport goods faster, workers commute to factories, and towns grow as transportation links make trade and communication more efficient. Life, once dictated solely by seasons and rivers, now follows a new, faster cadence. Factories and mines attract workers from the countryside. Imagine families moving from villages to burgeoning towns. Children observe machines. Women work at spinning frames. Men labor in coal mines or ironworks. Work is long and often demanding, yet it brings new opportunities and a sense of participation in a rapidly changing world. Communities form around workplaces, creating networks of support, friendship, and resilience. Cities grow rapidly during this period. Places like Berlin, Hamburg, and the Ruhr region expand with workshops, factories, markets, and housing. Imagine narrow streets lined with brick homes, the gentle hum of machinery echoing in courtyards, children playing in alleys, and neighbors exchanging news and goods. Guilds and local councils adapt to manage this growth, providing structure amid change. The Industrial Revolution also affects agriculture. Mechanization, crop rotation, and improved tools allow farmers to produce more with less effort. Imagine a farmer guiding a plow pulled by a horse-drawn mechanical device, fields tilled more efficiently, and harvests increasing steadily. Villages adjust to these changes, with fewer people required for manual labor and more able to pursue trades, crafts, and urban employment. Education and literacy expand alongside industrialization. Schools teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and vocational skills. Imagine children in a small classroom, chalk dust in the air, hands raised to answer questions, absorbing knowledge that prepares them for work, trade, and participation in an increasingly complex society. Libraries and reading rooms in towns provide spaces for learning, reflection, and the exchange of ideas. The Industrial Revolution also fosters scientific and technological innovation. Engineers, inventors, and scholars experiment with steam engines, metallurgy, chemicals, and machinery. Imagine a workshop where sparks fly from a forge, a machine hums steadily, and an inventor sketches designs by candlelight. These innovations not only increase productivity, but also shape the culture of curiosity, problem solving, and progress that characterizes modern Germany. Trade and commerce flourish in industrial towns. Goods are transported via railways, rivers, and roads, linking factories, markets, and ports. Merchants coordinate shipments, artisans produce specialized tools, and cities host bustling markets and fairs. Imagine a river port at dawn, barges laden with coal, iron, and textiles glide downstream. Workers unload cargo, and townspeople begin their day, blending routine with the new rhythms of industrial life. Despite growth, challenges remain. Workers face long hours, harsh conditions, and limited protections. Families balance work and home life. Children often contribute to labor, and communities develop support networks to cope. Imagine a quiet evening after a long day in a factory town. Smoke curls gently from chimneys, families gather around dinner tables, and children listen to stories by lamplight, finding solace and continuity amid change. Culturally, Germany adapts to industrialization with literature, music, and art, reflecting both tradition and modernity. Romanticism, with its focus on nature, history, and human emotion, blends with new themes of urban life, labor, and progress. Imagine strolling through a town square as evening falls. Street lamps glow softly, the distant sound of a violin drifts from a window, and people share poems and songs celebrating life, resilience, and the beauty of both past and present As you imagine this, dear friend, picture walking along a railway track at dawn. Steam rises gently from an approaching train. Fields and forests pass slowly. Towns awaken to the rhythm of factories, markets, and schools. Life is steady, resilient, and filled with opportunity, yet still deeply connected to nature, community, and the enduring cadence of daily routine. The Industrial Revolution in Germany is a story of change, adaptation, and growth. It reshapes cities, economies, and communities, blending human labor, ingenuity, and persistence. Yet amidst the machinery, smoke, and rapid movement, daily life continues with its rhythms of family, work, faith, and community. Life moves forward, patiently, deliberately, and steadily, like rivers flowing past forests and towns, guiding Germany toward a modern era. Rest now, letting the forests, rivers, villages, factories, and cities of industrial Germany settle around you. Hear the gentle hum of machinery, the soft clatter of carts, the distant whistle of a train, and the calm heartbeat of communities adapting. History unfolds patiently, quietly, and steadily, leading Germany into the modern age, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the mid to late 19th century, a time of bold ambition, careful planning, and steady transformation in the German lands. After decades of industrial growth, political reorganization, and cultural flourishing, a vision begins to emerge, a unified Germany. At the heart of this transformation is Otto von Bismarck, a statesman of remarkable determination and strategic foresight. Picture the landscape: rolling hills, dense forests, meandering rivers, and expanding towns and cities. Railways crisscross the countryside, factories hum quietly in the distance, and villages continue their age-old rhythms of work, trade, and community life. Towns bustle with merchants, artisans, and families, while the countryside remains a mosaic of fields, farms, and quiet forests. The stage is set for history to move deliberately, like a river steadily gathering strength. Bismarck, born in 1815 into a Prussian noble family, grows up amidst these shifting currents. Imagine him walking through the streets of Berlin or a Prussian manor, contemplating both the traditions of the past and the possibilities of the future. He studies, observes, and learns the delicate balance of diplomacy, power, and strategy. His vision is to unify the German states under Prussian leadership, carefully navigating both opportunity and resistance. The process of unification is gradual, marked by strategic wars, diplomacy, and political maneuvering. Bismarck first strengthens Prussia internally, modernizing the army, reforming administration, and consolidating resources. Imagine military exercises on open plains, soldiers marching in precise formations, and leaders planning logistics with meticulous care. The state becomes a well-oiled machine, ready to act decisively when the moment arrives. Bismarck's first step is the Danish War of 1864, a conflict over the duchies of Schleswig and Holstein. Imagine Prussian and Austrian troops moving through forests and towns, coordinated and deliberate, while local villagers watch cautiously, aware of both danger and the importance of these lands. The campaign is brief but decisive, and it establishes Prussia's growing influence among the German states. Next comes the Austro-Prussian War of 1866, a contest for dominance within the German Confederation. Armies gather on fields and hills, cavalry moves swiftly, artillery hisses, and strategies unfold with precision. Imagine towns bracing for the approach of soldiers, families adjusting daily routines, and leaders negotiating alliances. The conflict is relatively brief, but reshapes the political map. Austria's influence is curtailed, and Prussia emerges as the central power in northern Germany. Bismarck's diplomacy and political skill continue to shine in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870-1871. Imagine Prussian troops moving along rivers and roads, the coordinated march of disciplined soldiers, and towns watching with quiet anticipation. The war unites northern and southern German states, fostering a sense of shared identity, loyalty, and purpose. Communication through telegraph lines, railways, and messengers ensures that strategy and information flow steadily, even amid the turmoil of conflict. The culmination of these efforts occurs in 1871, when the German Empire is officially proclaimed in the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles. Imagine the ceremony, sunlight reflecting off marble, banners raised, and leaders gathered to witness the birth of a unified Germany. The King of Prussia becomes Kaiser, and the new empire brings together dozens of states, each with its own history, traditions, and local governance. Life across the German lands continues, but with a renewed sense of shared identity, pride, and purpose. Daily life during unification is still grounded in familiar rhythms. Farmers tend fields, artisans work in workshops, merchants trade goods, and families gather in homes and markets. Towns hum with the quiet energy of daily life. Children attend schools, and communities celebrate festivals. Even amid political transformation, these steady rhythms provide continuity and comfort. Imagine a quiet evening in a village near the Rhine. The river flows gently, smoke curls from chimneys, and families share meals and stories, anchored in both routine and history. Culture and identity flourish alongside unification. German literature, music, and art reflect both tradition and modernity. Composers like Wagner fill concert halls with music, celebrating myth, history, and national pride. Artists depict landscapes, daily life, and historical events with care, capturing both beauty and meaning. Imagine strolling through a city square in Berlin or Munich. Children play in courtyards, artisans work at their benches, and the distant sound of orchestral music drifts from a concert hall, blending daily life with the grandeur of culture. The unification of Germany also brings administrative, legal, and social reforms. Railways connect cities and towns, postal systems improve communication, and local governments standardize laws and regulations. Education becomes more widely accessible, fostering literacy, civic knowledge, and professional skills. Imagine a schoolroom in a small town. Children sit quietly, absorbing lessons while teachers guide them with care, preparing the next generation for life in a modern, unified nation. Religion continues to guide moral and spiritual life, providing continuity amid change. Lutheran, Catholic, and Reformed communities worship, celebrate, and educate children, maintaining traditions even as national identity evolves. Festivals, holy days, and community rituals continue to structure time and provide connection across villages, towns, and cities. Imagine the soft echo of hymns in a cathedral, the glow of candles, and the quiet presence of people reflecting on faith and shared values. Trade, commerce, and industry expand under the unified empire. Factories produce textiles, machinery, and tools, while cities grow along rivers and railways. Merchants, artisans, and laborers navigate new opportunities, blending tradition with innovation. Imagine a busy market in Hamburg. Ships arrive from distant ports, merchants coordinate goods, and townspeople engage in daily routines that combine work, family, and leisure. Life hums steadily, resilient, and purposeful amid the broader sweep of history. As you imagine this, dear friend, picture a quiet evening in newly unified Germany. Sunlight fades over forests, rivers flow gently through towns and villages, and smoke drifts from chimneys. Children listen to stories, families share meals, artisans work in dimly lit workshops, and the distant sound of bells echoes softly across fields. Life continues patiently, anchored in routine, community, and the steady rhythm of history. The unification of Germany under Bismarck is a story of strategy, patience, resilience, and vision. Political transformation occurs alongside steady, everyday life, blending ambition with continuity. Communities adapt, families persevere, and the rhythm of life carries forward gently and patiently, shaping the modern German nation. Rest now, letting the forests, rivers, towns, and cities of 19th century Germany settle around you. Hear the gentle flow of the Rhine, the soft clatter of carts, the flicker of candlelight in workshops, and the calm heartbeat of communities building a unified identity. History unfolds quietly, patiently, and steadily, guiding Germany toward a new era, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the early 20th century, a time when Germany, unified under the empire, experiences both remarkable growth and profound upheaval. The German Empire, forged under Bismarck, is now an industrial powerhouse, with cities humming with industry, railways connecting distant towns, and factories producing goods for domestic use and export. Yet, the shadow of war begins to loom over Europe, bringing uncertainty, tension, and eventually conflict. The First World War. Picture the landscape of early 20th century Germany. Forests and rivers remain. Rolling hills are dotted with farms, and towns are alive with commerce, trade, and daily life. Streets are lined with brick buildings, factories hum with machinery, and children attend schools, their voices mingling with the clatter of carts and the distant whistle of trains. Life is steady and productive, yet beneath the surface, Europe is preparing for a storm that will touch every corner of the nation. The German Empire is a complex entity. Prussia, Bavaria, Saxony, and other states maintain local governance, while the Kaiser rules with centralized authority, balancing power, military strength, and diplomacy. Imagine a council meeting in Berlin. Ministers discuss economic policy, military readiness, and international relations. Quills scratching on parchment, Maps spread across the table, decisions flowing carefully, yet deliberately. As tensions across Europe rise, Germany becomes part of alliances that bring both security and risk. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914 ignites a chain of events that plunges Europe into World War I. Imagine the quiet streets of towns like Munich, Frankfurt, or Hamburg, where families go about daily routines, unaware that the world is shifting. Soon, young men will march to the front, trains will carry soldiers, and the rhythm of life will adjust to the demands of war. The war touches Germany in every way. Soldiers leave for the front lines, marching through fields, forests, and towns, carrying rifles and supplies. Armies face battles on distant lands, yet letters, news, and rumors keep townspeople aware of the unfolding conflict. Imagine a village near the Rhine. Families gather in the evenings, listening to letters read aloud from sons and brothers, praying quietly for their safe return, and finding solace in routine despite uncertainty. Industry and economy shift to support the war effort. Factories produce weapons, ammunition, and supplies, while railways transport materials to ports and front lines. Farmers adjust crops to feed both civilians and soldiers. Imagine the hum of machinery in a factory, workers moving with precision, the scent of oil and metal filling the air, and townsfolk coordinating deliveries and trade, blending daily life with the demands of national defense. Life during wartime is marked by rationing, scarcity, and adaptation. Food shortages affect both towns and villages, yet communities find ways to support one another. Markets adjust to limited goods, neighbors share resources, and families grow resilient in the face of adversity. Imagine a quiet evening in a small village. The aroma of simple meals fills homes. Children listen to stories by lamplight, and the soft murmur of conversation carries the spirit of endurance and connection. Culturally, Germany continues to reflect on history, identity, and human experience. Literature, art, and music explore both heroism and suffering. Writers and artists depict landscapes, towns, and the emotional toll of war, connecting personal and collective experiences. Imagine a quiet study. A poet pens verses about fields and forests, the hum of distant trains mingling with the candlelight, flickering softly on parchment. The war ends in 1918 with profound consequences. The German Empire faces defeat, political upheaval, and social unrest. Soldiers return home to towns and villages. Communities adjust to the absence of loved ones, and families rebuild amidst the backdrop of economic difficulty and political uncertainty. Imagine a village square after the war. The streets are quieter, smoke drifts gently from chimneys, children play cautiously, and townspeople gather to share news, support one another, and resume routines that provide comfort and continuity. The Treaty of Versailles brings additional challenges, imposing reparations and territorial adjustments. Germany transitions from empire to Weimar Republic, navigating democracy, economic hardship, and social change. Despite uncertainty, daily life continues. Farmers tend fields, artisans repair tools, schools teach children, and communities maintain traditions, rhythm, and connection. Imagine a quiet evening in a small town. Lanterns flicker in windows, rivers flow steadily, and the distant toll of church bells marks the passage of time. Amid these challenges, German culture, education, and science continue to develop. Universities foster research, cities host intellectual salons, and music and arts explore both tradition and modernity. Imagine walking along a street in Berlin or Leipzig. Tram lines clatter softly, scholars discuss ideas in quiet cafes, and music drifts from concert halls, blending with the everyday rhythm of life. Daily life remains grounded in work, family, and community. Farmers sow and harvest, townspeople trade goods, and children attend school. Life carries continuity, providing comfort, connection, and structure even amidst political and economic turbulence. Imagine a peaceful morning in a village along the Rhine. Mist rises gently over fields, smoke drifts from chimneys, and families begin their day with quiet resilience and patience. World War I and the era of the German Empire are stories of ambition, industry, conflict, and resilience. Germany experiences both growth and upheaval, and yet communities endure, daily life persists, and history continues to unfold. Life moves forward, patiently, steadily, and quietly, shaped by both challenge and continuity, like rivers flowing through fields, forests, and towns. Rest now, letting the towns, rivers, forests, and fields of early 20th century Germany settle around you. Hear the soft clatter of carts, the gentle hum of industry, the distant echo of church bells, and the calm heartbeat of families rebuilding. History unfolds patiently, quietly, and steadily, preparing Germany for the changes, challenges, and resilience of the coming century, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the post-World War I era, a time of transformation, uncertainty, and quiet resilience in Germany. The empire has fallen, cities and villages have endured the hardships of war, and the nation now navigates the delicate beginnings of democracy in the form of the Weimar Republic. Life continues its steady rhythm amid profound political, social, and economic changes. Picture the landscape. Towns slowly rebuild from wartime damage, rivers flow gently through fields, and forests rustle softly in the wind. Cities hum with commerce, trade, and cultural activity, while the countryside preserves familiar rhythms of farming, crafts, and community. Smoke rises gently from chimneys. Children attend schools, and markets begin to bustle once more, even as the shadows of war and uncertainty linger. The Weimar Republic is a democratic experiment, the first in German history at this scale. Imagine Berlin, the heart of political and cultural life. The Reichstag building rises proudly. Debates unfold in council halls, and newspapers fill streets with reports and opinions. Politicians, scholars, and citizens navigate new freedoms, responsibilities, and challenges, shaping the future of a nation in flux. Daily life for ordinary Germans carries both continuity and adaptation. Farmers tend their fields, artisans craft goods in workshops, and families gather in homes, finding comfort in routine. Imagine a quiet village morning. Dew glistens on wheat, livestock stir in pens, and the gentle chatter of townspeople fills the streets as they prepare for another day of work, trade, and connection. Economically, Germany faces severe challenges. The war has drained resources, reparations weigh heavily, and inflation sweeps through cities and towns. Families adapt creatively, bartering goods, conserving food, and maintaining gardens to sustain themselves. Imagine a small town market. Merchants exchange produce and textiles, neighbors discuss prices and news, and life continues quietly, resilient and patient despite uncertainty. Culturally, the Weimar Republic is a time of flourishing arts, music, and intellectual exploration. Berlin, Munich, and Leipzig host theaters, concert halls, and literary salons. Artists, writers, and musicians experiment with new forms, reflecting both the traumas of war and the hope for renewal. Imagine walking through a city street at dusk. Soft light glows from windows. A pianist plays a gentle melody in a salon, and people gather quietly to discuss ideas, poetry, and philosophy. Education and literacy expand, nurturing both critical thought and practical skills. Schools teach reading, writing, mathematics, and vocational training, while universities cultivate research in science, philosophy, and the humanities. Imagine a classroom in a small town. Students sit at wooden desks, chalk dust in the air, absorbing lessons that connect them to a broader world of knowledge, innovation, and opportunity. Politics during the Weimar era are complex and often tense. The Republic balances democratic freedoms with pressures from both extremes of the political spectrum. Despite this, communities strive for stability, finding solace in family, work, and local traditions. Imagine a council meeting in a town hall. Leaders discuss local infrastructure, schools, and markets, quietly guiding life in ways that affect daily routines without overwhelming them. Religion continues to provide continuity. Lutheran, Catholic, and Reformed congregations offer guidance, comfort, and communal rituals. Festivals, church services, and seasonal celebrations structure time and provide a sense of shared identity. Imagine the soft echo of hymns in a village church, candlelight flickering across wooden pews, and townspeople gathering to reflect, pray, and connect across generations. Technological and industrial progress continues to shape life. Railways link towns and cities, factories hum with production, and new communication methods bring distant news to local communities. Imagine a train arriving at a quiet station. Steam rises softly, passengers disembark, and goods are unloaded, blending the rhythm of travel with the steady cadence of towns and villages. Despite political instability and economic difficulty, community life and human resilience endure. Families gather for meals, artisans repair tools, farmers tend fields, and children play in streets and meadows. Imagine a quiet evening. Lanterns glow gently in windows, a river flows steadily through the village, and the soft sound of conversation and laughter drifts from homes, blending with the distant toll of church bells. The Weimar Republic also witnesses scientific and cultural achievements. German thinkers contribute to physics, chemistry, philosophy, and literature, shaping global understanding and progress. Imagine a scholar in a study, books and notes spread across a desk, absorbing and creating knowledge that connects past and future, while the gentle rhythm of daily life outside continues undisturbed. Life in cities and towns reflects both adaptation and continuity. Markets provide food and goods, Schools educate children, workshops hum with activity, and families maintain traditions. The steady rhythm of daily work, faith, and social connection provides comfort and resilience amid broader uncertainty. Imagine walking along a cobbled street. At dawn, mist rises from the river, smoke drifts from chimneys, and the quiet hum of townspeople beginning their day envelops the scene. The Weimar Republic is a story of hope, resilience, and complexity. Germany experiments with democracy, faces economic and political challenges, and navigates social change. Yet daily life continues with its rhythms of work, family, and community, providing continuity, stability, and a sense of calm. Life moves forward patiently, steadily, and quietly, reflecting both adaptation and enduring tradition. Rest now, letting the towns, rivers, forests, and villages of Weimar Germany settle around you. Hear the gentle flow of rivers, the quiet clatter of carts, the soft hum of workshops, and the calm heartbeat of communities persevering. History unfolds patiently, quietly, and steadily, guiding Germany through experimentation, challenge, and resilience, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the 1930s and 1940s, a period of both profound darkness and enduring resilience in Germany. The Weimar Republic has struggled with economic hardship and political instability, and the nation is now entering a turbulent chapter under the rise of Nazi Germany. Life, while overshadowed by ideology and conflict, continues in quiet corners of towns, villages, and countryside, where daily rhythms of work, family, and nature persist. Picture the landscape. Forests sway in the wind, rivers glide steadily through valleys, and villages maintain the gentle rhythm of rural life. Cities hum with industry, trade, and the chatter of daily life. Yet the shadow of the regime and looming war subtly touches every corner. Smoke rises gently from chimneys, church bells echo softly across towns, and children walk to school, often unaware of the larger forces shaping the nation. The rise of Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist Party brings rapid political transformation. Imagine government buildings in Berlin, banners adorn streets, speeches echo in halls, and new laws are passed swiftly. Citizens navigate a complex reality, balancing public conformity, private reflection, and the quiet persistence of everyday life. Life in villages, farms, and small towns continues in a slower, steadier rhythm, guided by routines of work, family, and community. Industry and infrastructure expand significantly. Factories hum with production, railways link towns and cities, and roads stretch across the countryside. Imagine a factory on the outskirts of Leipzig. Machines move with steady precision, workers maintain a rhythmic routine, and smoke curls softly from chimneys, blending the hum of industry with the natural rhythm of the land. Daily life in towns and villages carries continuity and adaptation. Farmers tend crops and livestock, artisans craft goods in workshops, and families gather around meals. Markets bustle quietly, children attend schools, and communities organize festivals and celebrations, even as tension and fear spread through cities. Imagine a quiet evening in a village near the Rhine. Lanterns glow softly in windows, smoke drifts gently from chimneys, and the soft murmur of conversation fills the streets. World War II begins in 1939, dramatically altering life across Germany. Imagine the departure of soldiers. Columns march through towns. Trains carry troops and supplies. And families watch quietly. Hearts heavy with uncertainty, daily life adjusts to wartime reality, with rationing, shortages, and community support becoming central to survival. Villagers find ways to maintain routines, tending fields, repairing homes, teaching children, and preserving hope in small but meaningful acts. Cities face bombing raids, destruction, and displacement. Families seek shelter in basements, schools and factories adjust schedules, and towns rebuild where possible. Imagine the quiet aftermath of an air raid. Smoke rises gently in the distance. Neighbors assist one another in clearing debris, and the hum of rivers and forests provides a gentle backdrop of continuity amid chaos. Despite the horrors of war and the oppressive regime, culture and knowledge persist quietly. Libraries, schools, and private homes nurture reading, music, and reflection. Imagine a scholar in a dimly lit study, penning notes by candlelight, or a family gathered around a small radio, listening quietly to music or news from afar, preserving curiosity, intellect, and connection. Religious communities continue to provide structure and solace. Lutheran, Catholic, and other congregations maintain quiet rituals, guiding moral reflection and offering spaces for prayer and contemplation. Festivals, holy days, and seasonal celebrations continue, creating threads of continuity that anchor communities even amid upheaval. Imagine candlelight flickering in a quiet church, the soft hum of hymns carrying across the empty streets outside. The final years of World War II bring immense challenges. Towns and villages face occupation, shortages, and the movement of refugees. Families endure loss, soldiers return home injured or not at all, and communities rebuild what they can. Imagine a gentle morning in the countryside. Mist rises over fields scarred by movement of troops. Rivers flow steadily, and families tend gardens. Small acts of restoration, bridging the past and the hope for the future. After 1945, Germany is divided, marking the beginning of a new chapter. Cities and towns gradually rebuild, communities adapt to new governance, and daily life resumes, guided by routine, family, and work. Factories reopen, railways carry goods and people, and children return to schools, slowly reclaiming normalcy. Imagine the soft glow of street lamps in a city like Munich or Dresden, smoke drifting from chimneys, and neighbors quietly assisting each other in reconstruction. World War II and Nazi Germany are stories of tragedy, resilience, and human endurance. Life endures in quiet, steady ways through farming, artisan work, family routines, religious practice, and communal care. Communities adapt to extraordinary challenges, preserving the rhythm of daily life, even as history moves dramatically around them. Rest now, letting the forests, rivers, towns, and villages of wartime Germany settle around you. Hear the gentle flow of rivers, the soft murmur of conversation, the hum of industry restarting, and the calm heartbeat of families persevering. History unfolds patiently, quietly, and steadily, leading Germany from darkness toward recovery. one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the post-World War II era, a time of immense challenge, quiet determination, and slow rebuilding in Germany. The country lies in ruins after the war. Cities are damaged, towns partially destroyed, and families displaced. Yet even amidst destruction, life begins to reassert its gentle rhythm, anchored in resilience, community, and hope. Picture the landscape. Rivers flow steadily through fields and forests. Towns bear the marks of wartime devastation, and smoke drifts gently from rebuilding homes and small factories. Villages maintain their enduring patterns of work and family life. The air carries both the memory of conflict and the quiet promise of renewal. Germany is now divided into four occupation zones: American, British, French, and Soviet. Imagine administrators in each zone coordinating reconstruction, rebuilding infrastructure, and providing for displaced citizens. Roads are cleared, railways restored, and electricity gradually returns to homes and workshops. Life begins to regain structure, even as the nation remains politically fragmented. Daily life continues quietly. Farmers tend fields, livestock graze in pastures, and artisans repair tools and homes. Families gather for meals, children attend schools, and local markets provide food, goods, and connection. Imagine a small village at dawn. The sun rises over misty fields, smoke curls softly from chimneys, and the distant toll of church bells marks a calm, steady rhythm of daily life. Cities gradually rebuild, factories reopen, workshops hum, and transportation links, such as railways and roads, reconnect towns and regions. Imagine walking along a partially restored street in Berlin or Hamburg. Bricks are being laid in damaged buildings. The gentle clatter of construction fills the air, and people move with quiet purpose, balancing hope with practicality. The division of Germany eventually solidifies into East Germany, GDR, and West Germany, FRG. East Germany falls under Soviet influence, while West Germany is shaped by democratic and capitalist structures with support from Western allies. Life in both areas adapts to new political systems, yet daily routines, community bonds, and family life remain remarkably resilient. Imagine a village along the Elbe River. Children attend school, markets bustle, families tend gardens, and life flows steadily alongside the quiet presence of political change. Economic recovery is slow but deliberate. The Marshall Plan aids West Germany, facilitating reconstruction of infrastructure, factories, and homes. Imagine a factory reopening after years of inactivity. Machinery hums, workers move with precision, and the scent of fresh wood and metal fills the air. Trade resumes along rivers and railways, linking towns, cities, and regions with a renewed sense of connection and purpose. Communities rebuild both physically and socially. Schools reopen, hospitals operate again, and churches provide continuity, guidance, and comfort. Imagine a quiet evening in a West German town. Lanterns glow softly in windows. Neighbors converse in courtyards. Children play safely in the streets, and the steady rhythm of life begins to overshadow the scars of war. East Germany follows a different path. with state-controlled industry and collective agriculture. Life is structured around planned economy, schools, and organized community life. Families continue daily routines, children attend schools, and townspeople maintain local traditions. Imagine a morning in an East German village. Smoke rises from chimneys, farmers tend collective fields, and artisans work in small workshops, all moving in synchronized rhythm with the steady cadence of community life. Culturally, both East and West Germany seek renewal. Music, literature, and arts flourish quietly. Artists, musicians, and writers explore themes of memory, resilience, and hope. Imagine a concert in a West German city. Soft music drifts through a hall, the audience listens intently, and the gentle resonance of harmony fills hearts and minds, blending beauty with reflection. Education expands across Germany. Schools teach reading, writing, mathematics, science, and civic responsibility, preparing children for the modern world. Imagine a classroom in a small village. Children sit at wooden desks, sunlight filters through windows, and teachers guide learning with patience and care, fostering knowledge, curiosity, and stability. Religious life provides continuity amid transformation. Lutheran, Catholic, and Reformed congregations offer guidance, host celebrations, and support families. Imagine candlelight flickering across wooden pews, hymns echoing softly through empty streets, and families gathering for prayer, creating threads of connection across generations. Trade and industry resume gradually. Factories hum, workshops produce goods, markets bustle, and railways carry both people and products across rebuilt infrastructure. Imagine a river port at dawn. Barges laden with grain and timber glide downstream. Townspeople move quietly along streets, and life continues in a steady, deliberate rhythms, bridging past hardships and future promise. Daily life remains rooted in family, work, and community. Farmers tend crops, artisans craft goods, merchants coordinate trade, and children learn in schools. Life flows quietly, steadily, and patiently, like rivers tracing their paths through forests, fields, and towns, carrying the weight of history gently onward. The post-war era and division of Germany are stories of resilience, adaptation, and reconstruction. Communities rebuild, families endure, and daily life persists, even amidst political change and lingering scars. Life moves forward, patiently, steadily, and quietly, weaving continuity with hope and nurturing the slow but steady restoration of the German lands. Rest now, letting the rivers, forests, towns, and villages of post-war Germany settle around you. Hear the gentle flow of rivers, the soft clatter of carts, the hum of workshops, and the calm heartbeat of communities rebuilding. History unfolds patiently, quietly, and steadily, guiding Germany from destruction toward renewal, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the late 20th century, a time of hope, transformation, and gentle renewal in Germany. After decades of division, political tension, and reconstruction, the nation moves toward reunification, a process that will weave together centuries of history, resilience, and culture into a modern German identity. Life continues in towns, villages, and cities, carrying forward the quiet rhythms of work, family, and community. Picture the landscape. Rivers like the Rhine, Elbe, and Danube flow steadily through fields and forests. Towns bustle with trade, schools and markets, and cities hum with energy, reconstruction, and innovation. Smoke rises gently from chimneys. Railways carry both goods and people, and the gentle breeze moves through trees and over rooftops, carrying a sense of possibility and quiet anticipation. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marks a moment of profound change. Imagine families gathering at the wall, hugging, crying, and celebrating as barriers come down. Streets fill with quiet laughter, music drifts softly through the air, and neighbors from east and west reconnect, blending daily life, memories, and the steady rhythm of communities that had been separated for decades. Reunification officially occurs in 1990, bringing together East and West Germany. Imagine cities like Berlin adjusting to new governance, schools merging curricula, businesses coordinating across regions, and families resuming traditions interrupted by decades of separation. Daily life begins to harmonize, blending distinct histories, cultures, and rhythms into a unified national experience. Life in reunited Germany balances tradition and modernization. Farmers continue to tend fields, artisans craft goods, factories hum quietly, and children attend schools enriched by shared history and innovation. Imagine a quiet village morning. Mist rises over wheat fields, smoke curls from chimneys, and townspeople move deliberately along cobblestone streets, tending markets, workshops, and homes. Cities grow as hubs of commerce, technology, and culture. Railways, roads, and modern infrastructure connect towns and regions. Imagine Berlin in the early 1990s. Construction cranes dot the skyline, trams glide along streets, markets bustle quietly, and citizens move with purposeful calm, blending the energy of renewal with the steady cadence of urban life. Economically, Germany continues to expand and modernize. Factories produce goods ranging from machinery to electronics, while services, trade, and technology flourish. Imagine a factory in Stuttgart. Machines hum softly, workers coordinate with precision, and shipments move steadily along railways and highways, blending productivity with the rhythm of daily life. Culturally, Germany embraces both heritage and innovation. Museums, theaters, and concert halls celebrate history, while contemporary arts explore new ideas and expressions. Imagine walking through a city square in Munich or Dresden. Children play in quiet courtyards, musicians practice in small halls, and families gather for meals, blending the calm of tradition with the subtle pulse of modern creativity. Education remains a cornerstone of life. Schools, universities, and vocational programs prepare children and young adults for participation in a modern, interconnected world. Imagine a classroom in Leipzig. Sunlight filters through windows, students take careful notes, teachers guide lessons with patience, and knowledge flows steadily, connecting past, present, and future. Daily life across Germany reflects both resilience and continuity. Farmers tend crops, artisans work in workshops, merchants coordinate trade, and families maintain traditions and rituals. Markets bustle with quiet energy, children play in parks, and the soft hum of daily life anchors communities amid change. Imagine a gentle evening in a small town along the Rhine. Lanterns glow softly, smoke drifts from chimneys, and neighbors gather quietly to share news and companionship. The modern era of Germany also focuses on environmental awareness, technology, and social progress. Forests are preserved, rivers are protected, cities develop sustainable infrastructure, and communities engage with both local and global issues. Imagine walking along the banks of the Elbe. Water flows calmly, trees rustle in the breeze, and townspeople move slowly along paths, connecting work, leisure, and nature in quiet harmony. Political life stabilizes with a parliamentary democracy balancing local, regional, and national governance. Citizens participate in elections, councils meet to discuss infrastructure, education, and trade, and local leaders coordinate with national institutions. Imagine a town hall meeting in Hamburg. Sunlight glows across the chamber, citizens speak thoughtfully, and decisions unfold deliberately, shaping daily life with quiet care. Religion continues to provide comfort, continuity, and community. Lutheran, Catholic, and other congregations offer guidance, host celebrations, and support families. Imagine the soft glow of candles in a church, the gentle echo of hymns, and townspeople gathering for prayer, reflection, and quiet connection across generations. Trade, commerce, and industry continue to interweave with daily life. Railways, roads, and waterways link cities and towns. Factories hum steadily, producing goods for domestic use and international trade. Markets provide food, crafts, and goods for families. Imagine a river port at dawn. Barges glide silently downstream. Merchants coordinate shipments, and the steady rhythm of towns and cities merges seamlessly with the flow of rivers and life. The reunification and modernization of Germany is a story of resilience, adaptation, and patient rebuilding. Communities, families, and daily life endure alongside national transformation, blending continuity with progress. Life moves forward deliberately, quietly, and calmly, weaving past, present, and future into a coherent rhythm that nurtures stability, hope, and quiet reflection. Rest now, letting the rivers, forests, towns, and cities of modern Germany settle around you. Hear the gentle flow of rivers, the soft clatter of carts, the hum of factories, and the calm heartbeat of communities thriving in unity and renewal. History unfolds patiently, quietly, and steadily, guiding Germany from division to reunification and into a modern era, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Close your eyes, dear friend, and let us drift into the 21st century, a time of innovation, stability, and quiet continuity in Germany. Life flows steadily across towns, cities, rivers, and forests as the nation navigates the challenges and opportunities of the modern era. Here, history, culture, and daily life intertwine, creating a Germany that is both deeply rooted and forward-looking. Picture the landscape. Rolling hills and vast forests stretch under soft skies. Rivers like the Rhine, Elbe, and Danube flow gently through the countryside, and cities blend historic architecture with modern infrastructure. Smoke curls softly from chimneys. The hum of trains and vehicles moves steadily through towns, and markets bustle with the quiet rhythm of daily trade. Germany is now a central hub in Europe, part of the European Union, active in global trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Imagine a port in Hamburg at dawn. Barges glide silently along the Elbe. Cranes move steadily as containers are loaded, and workers coordinate shipments, blending centuries-old commerce with modern logistics. Life unfolds quietly yet purposefully, anchored in both continuity and innovation. Daily life across the country balances tradition, family, and modernity. Farmers cultivate fields with advanced machinery, artisans create goods in workshops, and families gather in homes and community spaces. Children attend school, learning not only reading, writing, and mathematics, but also technology, environmental stewardship, and civic responsibility. Imagine a quiet village morning. Dew glistens on the wheat, smoke rises from chimneys, and the soft murmur of neighbors greeting each other carries through the streets. Cities like Berlin, Munich, Frankfurt, and Cologne pulse with energy while retaining a human scale. Streets blend cobblestones with modern tram lines. Historic buildings sit beside contemporary architecture, and parks provide calm spaces amidst urban life. Imagine a morning in Berlin. Trams glide softly along tracks. People walk to cafes or offices. The distant hum of construction blends gently with birdsong, and the city breathes steadily in rhythm with its residents. Germany thrives economically, combining industry, technology, and sustainability. Factories produce automobiles, machinery, electronics, and renewable energy equipment. Research and innovation flourish in universities and technology parks. Imagine a solar panel installation on the edge of a forest, engineers working quietly with precision, and small towns nearby maintaining their steady rhythm of life, blending nature and progress. Culturally, Germany celebrates a rich heritage while embracing modern arts, music, and literature. Museums, theaters, and concert halls host exhibitions and performances reflecting both past and present. Imagine a soft evening in Munich. A small orchestra plays in a quiet hall. Children practice instruments in nearby homes, and families stroll along lantern-lit streets, the rhythm of life mingling seamlessly with creativity and reflection. Education remains central to daily life. Schools teach knowledge, skills, and civic responsibility, while universities foster research, innovation, and cultural exploration. Imagine a classroom in Leipzig or Heidelberg. Sunlight filters through tall windows, students sit attentively, and teachers guide lessons patiently, connecting generations to both history and the evolving modern world. Religion continues to provide a quiet anchor for communities. Lutheran, Catholic, and other congregations guide moral and spiritual life, host celebrations, and offer spaces for reflection. Imagine candlelight flickering in churches across small towns, soft hymns echoing through quiet streets, and families gathering peacefully, sustaining continuity amidst progress. Germany also focuses on environmental awareness and sustainability. Forests are preserved, rivers protected, cities develop green infrastructure, and renewable energy is widely implemented. Imagine walking along the banks of the Rhine. Water flows gently, trees rustle in the breeze, and townspeople move quietly along paths, blending daily life, nature, and mindful stewardship in calm harmony. Politics and governance operate through parliamentary democracy, balancing local, regional, and national responsibilities. Citizens vote, communities organize, and decisions unfold deliberately to guide infrastructure, education, trade, and social development. Imagine a town hall meeting in a small city. Sunlight glows across the chamber. Neighbors discuss issues calmly, and local leaders work quietly to shape daily life with care and precision. Daily life in Germany blends routine, connection, and resilience. Farmers tend fields, artisans craft goods, merchants manage trade, children attend schools, and families nurture traditions. Markets buzz softly, rivers flow steadily, and towns remain anchored by quiet rhythms that echo centuries of continuity. Imagine a village along the Elbe at dusk. Lanterns glow in windows, smoke drifts gently from chimneys, and neighbors share conversation and companionship, grounding life in steady comfort. Modern Germany is a story of adaptation, unity, and patient progress. The nation has emerged from centuries of upheaval, war, division, and reconstruction, now blending history, culture, and innovation into a stable, forward-looking society. Communities, families, and individuals continue daily life quietly with resilience, curiosity, and connection guiding every step. Rest now, letting the rivers, forests, towns, and cities of 21st century Germany settle around you. Hear the soft hum of railways, the gentle flow of rivers, the quiet clatter of daily commerce, and the steady heartbeat of communities thriving in harmony. History unfolds patiently, quietly, and steadily, guiding Germany into the modern era, one calm, deliberate step at a time. Now, with a smile on your face, you will have a good understanding of the history of Germany and hopefully a good night's sleep. Goodbye, dear friend. See you next time.